put it up there, like and subscribe up there. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I am your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Quickly, hold on. I gotta adjust the TikTok camera real quick, guys. So let's move that off to the side. Boom. Okay. Because you got to see me on both screens. For those of you that are following me on TikTok, make sure that you like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you follow me on TikTok because we are trying to get that stream key. So we're trying to make it to 10 bands at minimum. But, I set a goal of 100 bands because, I'm an overachiever. So for those of you that are following us on TikTok, make sure that you do both. You kind of hit us up on TikTok. You also hit us up on YouTube as well. For the rest of you guys that are following us on where y'all following me at, you're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We got the opportunity for you guys to click the link. I'm about to put it to the comment section, and when you click that link, you can approve the mic, approve the camera, and then get you on here. Acknowledge. We got some comments on the show today where you guys are going to get a chance to observe some stuff that people are saying. This is some out of control statements here and there. And I want you guys to be able to throw your 2 cents in. So those of you that are watching on TikTok, you guys can also jump in and put your 2 cents in if you like. Or you can put your comments in the comment section. It's completely up to you. So let's go ahead and get started with our first outrageous statement here.
A guy who 27 on Hinge sends me a like on my profile pic with a comment that says, "Sorry, just gotta say you are immaculately dripped out. I am a 23-year-old female unsure of what this means, and I don't know if it's because English is not my first language. What does this mean? Genuinely curious, because I low-key feel a bit dumb for not knowing even though I'm American."
Well, that wasn't as outrageous as I thought it was going to be. We got something that's going to be getting a little bit off the chain, but I am going to tell you real quick. You do not need to know that dripped out means that you are looking very sharp today. So I am going to tell you that for those people who are not familiar with American slang, if English is not your first language, I'm going to tell you right now, you do not need to waste your time or burn any brain cells reducing your level of intelligence down to those of lower class by trying to be hip and cool with inappropriate dialogue that is not proper English. But for the sake of the definition that has been given to me is that equivalent to the last generation's identification of swagger versus looking sharp, looking cool. And I don't know why you would say dripped out to a female anyway. You apparently looked good in your outfit. And that was the reason why the gentleman made the comment that he made, because he liked the way that you looked. So my thoughts is that if you understand English to a 70 to 80% level, and you're talking to somebody that is not using English the way you were taught English, I would encourage you to just not talk to that person. One of the worst things that we have is that American people misuse the American English. They abuse the American English, which is irony because the Christian Bible tells people not to misuse the words. But that's what we do, though. We take words out of context. We take the words and use them for a completely different definition. Like the word drip is supposed to represent something falling, but for some reason, they use it to identify style. And the favoritism towards that style makes absolutely no sense. But let's go ahead and carry on to the next one because we got quite a few of them up here. And some of these are pretty lengthy because these people were like pouring their hearts out into the comment section. And I kind of want to get these comments up here.
My 31-year-old husband punched a hole in the wall because the baby woke up. I am 31 and I don't know the next steps. I don't know what to do or how to feel. I just saw a broken light switch taped up in my room and asked him what happened. He said he hit it when the baby woke up the other night while I was gone, and he was putting the kids to bed that night. He was frustrated because he had just put him down and then went to bed, and then the baby woke up. This has happened 4 to 6 times over the last 8 years. Maybe more I don't know about. Once he threw a pacifier against the wall, and it dented a small hole. He also threw a chair once against the fence and broke a hole in the fence after we got in a heated discussion. He is incredible in so many ways and is truly an excellent dad. I grew up with an awful dad that did actually hit and verbally abuse me. My husband is so attentive and aware and extremely intentional with his parenting. He's so great, but he has this temper that comes out sometimes, and it's alarming me. Is this behavior normal? I don't know if these are red flags that warrant a divorce or what. Do I need to talk to someone or call the police? Does anyone have any experience with something like this? Asterisk edit. I see a lot of people mentioning the kids witnessing it. My older two kids have never seen him blow up, not even yelling. I would say 90% of the time, he is cool as a cucumber. He really doesn't ever yell, throw things, hit things ever in front of them. We don't ever fight in front of our children. We honestly don't really fight much at all. He does these things when he is alone. And over the course of 8 to 9 years, I remember 4 to 6 times. The most recent a few days ago, and I felt this alarm go off inside me, kind of scared that the baby waking up frustrated him that much. But no, he has never, and I can't imagine him ever hurting our kids.
So, people have different ways of venting their anger. Anger is something that happens to everybody. It's a very natural occurrence and not something that you should be calling the police on your partner for. However, ma'am, I am going to say that we typically find partners that resemble our parents. So when we have a poor upbringing from negative parents, we typically find a partner that is the same because subconsciously we believe that that is normal. You grew up in a household with a somewhat abusive father. You're dating a man that has a violent temper, just similar to your father. The difference is this man knows how to control it a little bit more because he's not beating you or the kids. So the fact that he goes into a different room from the children and punches holes in the wall, I mean, he's got amazing strength to put a hole in the wall with a pacifier. Because, I mean, unless he hit it with the back end of the pacifier, I can't imagine the rubbery part sticking into the wall like a ninja star. But, I mean, he could use some anger management. He could use some venting. Do you know that men suppress all of their feelings and emotions because they are taught that they're not allowed to feel? And then they're shamed by women when those men actually express their feelings. And then it gets worse because after they are shamed by those same women that told them, oh, you could confide in me and you can vent in me, those same women then come back, and after she's finished shaming him for it, she comes back and throws it in his face anytime she's not getting her way and anytime that she is not happy with his actions or decision-making process. Now, because of that, men keep their emotions and feelings bottled up. The same way women are allowed to lash out and throw stuff at men and hit men and pour stuff on men and embarrass men in public, men are supposed to take that abuse, internalize it, suppress it. It turns into an ulcer until the man rages out. Now, what this man has decided to do is he goes separately away from his wife and kids and he rages out by himself. Yeah, the poor house gets fucked up, but you don't get fucked up. So as a good wife, what you should do is find ways to relieve your husband's stress, regardless of what that is. Not all the time a sexy answer, but it is a start. Other ways: massage his back, rub his feet, get him a spa, make him his favorite meal, set up his favorite game in the living room with the surround sound system, buy extra mods for his car, whatever his hobby is. Find ways to make your husband happy, appreciate him, and control your ability to remind him that his efforts are appreciated as well as valuable. Because an unappreciated man is not going to say he feels unappreciated. He's going to punch a hole in the wall. An unvalued man is not going to say that he is unvalued. He's breaking the fence with a steel chair. And a man that is not being properly respected by his wife is not going to say that he doesn't feel respected. He's going to go in the basement and he's going to scream at the top of his lungs to probably punch one of the pillars in the basement. Some men actually get punching bags or speed bags where they can go downstairs and they can hit this thing until they get tired, because they would really trying their best not to hit their wife because their wife is getting on their damn nerves and she does not want to get off of the bullshit. So when you see your husband after 8-9 years of him dealing with the same shit, and you have not ever tried to find out what you could do to alleviate his problem, that makes you part of his problem, because he is dealing with this by himself. He is married to you and he is alone, and that is your fault. So instead of you trying to call the police on him or getting a divorce, instead of you being proactive with him, you're sitting over here thinking about getting a divorce or calling the police. Why don't you be proactive about his anger management and be the solution to his freaking rage? Because I can tell you that Bruce Banner hulked out and his fucking girlfriend showed up and he stopped destroying the world because his girlfriend showed up. So you are his wife. I don't understand why Superman can destroy planets, and when Lois Lane shows up, he cuts that bullshit out. I don't understand why Bruce Wayne can take out an entire militia of people, but when his girlfriend shows up, he's a whip. If the man can be tamed by his woman, why are you as the woman neglecting your man and allowing him to rage out? And then you're going to say, oh, I am afraid of his rage. You married the rage. You knew what the rage were 8 years ago. This isn't new. This isn't like he just started raging out today. Then you're going to try to call it a disease. No, he's had anger management issues for the last 10 years, at least 2 years before you married him, 4 years before you met him. So he's had this same rage problem for the last 18 years. But did you give a fuck about his anger? Did you give a fuck about his sadness? And sadness is actually internalized and then expressed out as rage as well. So not only is he mad, he's also sad. And not only is he sad, you don't give a fuck. And you are happy because he is taking all of this stress off of your plate and internalizing it into himself. But you are not doing anything to make him feel bad. Transference of feelings and emotions. He listens to you, bitch. He takes it in. Then he goes and punches a hole in the wall while everybody's gone, because nobody is listening to what he's got to say. Nobody's got two shits in that household about how he feels about anything. So, lady, if you really care about your husband, you say that he's the best dad in the world and the best husband on earth, then you need to be making sure that this man know that he's the best dad in the world and he's the best husband in the world, because nowhere in your explanation are you telling me that you ever tried to figure out how to keep him happy or how to keep him calm. You're just complaining about the fact that he went into a separate room. He had this child for God knows how many hours trying to get this child to go to sleep. Child laid down for several seconds and just went out of control all over again, where he's got to spend another several hours, probably haven't had any sleep at all this whole time. And he took a pacifier and threw it at a wall in a different room, and then went in there and gently comforted his child until his child went to sleep. Where the fuck were you when this shit was going down? But at the end of the day, you're going to say, oh, well, there's something wrong with him. I should be afraid of him. I should call the police with him. I should get a divorce with him. No, you need to be a better wife. You need to be a better mother and a better wife, because you should not allow daddy to be mad to the magnitude where when this baby is old enough to go in the other room and see what happened and catch daddy raging out, you will then be allowing a negative situation to get worse because you have never done anything to satisfy dad's rage. And satisfying dad's rage does not require you to become his punching bag, but you can talk to him. You can listen to him. Never bring it up again. Treat it like a fucking confessional. Bury that shit, but help him through it. If he's frustrated with some shit, listen to him so that he can get it off his chest, because sometimes he just needs to get it off his chest. Don't say it in the house in front of the children because walls are paper thin. Get a babysitter. You and your husband go out to dinner. Let him tell you all the shit that pisses him off about his son, because it happens. Parents get disgusted with their children when they're with their kids the child's whole life. But at the end of the day, you still love your kids. You still care for your kids. When you're married to somebody for 20 years, they get on your fucking nerves, but you still love them. You still care for them. So there are times where you need to get away from your partner and go somewhere and vent. That's what you do with your friends, your female friends, ma'am, not your male friends, because your male friends are going to take that opportunity to sleep with you. Your female friends, that's where you go and vent. You're not supposed to say anything negative about your husband, but I mean, if you're going to say something, go get a therapist and just get it off of your chest, truthfully. And then you'd be okay. But your husband, who probably now has to pay for a therapist, has got to go somewhere else and vent because you are not doing anything to calm him down, relieve some of his stress, relieve some of his anger. People don't just sit there all willy-nilly just breaking stuff and punching holes in walls because they can't. They gotta get it out some kind of way. And it's better to punch something than to punch you. How you doing, Red Void? It's good to see you in here tonight. Yeah, we got these questions and comments tonight. We're gonna go through these comments are getting thicker, so I'm glad that you jumped in when you jumped in. Let's go with the next one.
I'm 31 and I just had a horrible date after 2 years of not being with anyone. I went on my first date in ages yesterday. For a little context, I haven't been seeing anybody since my ex basically dropped me for an Instagram model. Probably partially because I had started gaining weight. I was at 120 pounds when he met and went up to 140 that I'm currently working off now with exercise and healthy eating. But regardless, I've been scared to go out in the dating world because I haven't felt great about my body. Since I've been healthy lately, I started to feel the confidence to finally get out there and go out on a date. Things went well initially. I invited him back to my place for a couple drinks and that's it. Wasn't planning on sleeping with him at all, but he said he wanted to hang out for a little longer and the bars were closed. A little way and he started getting extremely touchy with me and I started to feel uncomfortable, so I distanced myself from him. Then he told me he was getting aroused, which made me realize there was a miscommunication. I told him I was sorry, but I didn't want to do anything with him, to which he got up and started yelling at me about my weight, how he wasn't attracted to me, and how he wouldn't sleep with me because I was fat. Needless to say, I kicked him out, but I'm pretty traumatized from this experience and I've been sitting in my bed crying all day. My weight is my biggest insecurity, and for my first time back on the dating scene to be told that knocked me down so many pegs and ruined my confidence.
Okay. Well, first of all, 145 pounds ain't that big. I don't understand why women believe that they can't be 145 pounds. I mean, if you're 3'3", then maybe 145 pounds is a little bit heavy. But 5'1", 5'4", 5'8", 145 pounds, you're not that big. You're about this size here. The only difference is that you might have a little bit more at the top. You might have a little bit more in the back. If you really want to tone your core, because most women work on their midsection and lower. They work on their abs. They work on their thighs. They work on their calves. They might work on their internal muscle, but they don't work on their upper body strength. They don't work on their pecs. They don't work on their arms. They don't do like full definition. Only female bodybuilders do that. Females typically don't care about their upper body. They like it to be all soft and flimsy and weak and saggy and whatever. And then they just try to get the little six pack, and then they try to just tone their legs and make their butt look bigger. That's really what they focus on. They want to make their butt bigger. They want to make their thighs thicker, and then they want to have like the little six pack. So they only focus on like the area right near the genitalia. They don't really pay attention to nothing else. But if you're gonna really work out and get a full figure workout, like you're doing arms, you're not skipping arm day, you're not skipping chest day, you're doing like a full workout kind of thing, then that works. But if you're just gonna do legs every day, you're gonna do legs, quads, glutes, just butt and thighs. That's all you're gonna work out when you go to the gym. Maybe some core. Then you're kind of wasting your gym membership because you're not really working out. You're just trying to what's the word? I can't think of the word. You're trying to develop certain features on you that'll make yourself more attractive to men so that you don't have to pay for the surgery to get that same muscle developed. Likewise, the dude probably, well, first of all, he was drunk because you already said that. Second of all, whether or not he meant that, it was inappropriate for him to say it. And you should disregard that. However, when he was telling you that he was getting aroused by you, he actually is willing and capable of sleeping with anything, even if it was 352 pounds at 6, not even 6, at like 5'7". So if it would have looked like an M&M, he still would have made it work, because if he was not in some way, shape, or form sexually attracted to you, he would not be aroused by you. There are lovable drunks, though, that are overly affectionate when they get drunk. They're falling all over you. They're trying to make out with you. They're trying to have sex with you. There are those people that typically act out of character. You're not acting out of character. You typically hide this side of you when you're sober, and when you're drunk, you just don't give a shit. So there's that issue. But not everybody's like that. And the first guy that dumped you didn't necessarily dump you because of your looks, because he was with you because of your looks and your attitude and your ability to aid him with his agenda. And regardless of your looks, if your attitude is still positive, where you're respecting him and appreciating him and valuing him, and you are working with him towards his agenda, then you are a valuable woman. And if you gain a little weight, a man is not going to leave you, because when you get pregnant and have children, you gain 50 to 75 pounds, sometimes more. And that is just the baby weight. Even though the baby doesn't come out weighing more than 10 pounds, the women typically store way more than the baby weight, water weight, because notice when your water breaks, it's almost like opening a washing machine full of water. The fact is, and water weighs way more than muscle, and muscle weighs more than fat in people. So you got to understand that if a woman was small and then she got big, a man ain't going to really leave her for that. And if it all fills in the right areas, that's going to be even better. But I mean, if you're one of those muffin tops where you got a small top, a huge stomach, you look like you're pregnant, but you're not pregnant, and you got no butt, you probably should change your diet and maybe do a little bit more crunches. But that's not going to mean that you're not necessarily going to attract the man or keep the man that you attracted if you don't have a fucked up attitude. Because you could be an Instagram model with a piss poor attitude. And while he will go and sleep with that Instagram model quite a few times in a row because she's attractive, her fucked up attitude, he is going to leave her and go look for another woman that has got a better attitude. So just remember that a man is not just going to drop you like a bag of rocks and just say screw it all the time just because of your looks. It's going to be your looks, your attitude, your willingness to follow instructions, all of these things.
Pegs and ruin my confidence.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Could this be a boundary issue? I am 33 and haven't dated in a while, so I'm trying to figure out if I'm overthinking this. I matched with a guy who is 39 and the conversation flowed well. It didn't feel forced. On day 2, he asked if we could text, and I hesitantly agreed. I usually don't do that so early. Later that evening, while I was out at the store, he called me. I would have preferred if he had asked first if it was a good time to call or even if calling was okay. Is that just me? On day 3, he asked if we could FaceTime later that night. I told him I couldn't because I'd be busy cleaning for visitors the next day, but I'd be open to FaceTiming the following evening. I also said a regular call was fine for that night. When we spoke on the phone, he suddenly started FaceTiming me anyway. I was like, didn't I just say tonight wasn't good for that? He has a kid, which I'm totally fine with, but he's been sending me pictures and videos of him every day. I get that he loves his son, but we've only been talking for 3 days and it feels like a lot. Am I overreacting, or is this just too much too soon?
Light switch taped up in my room.
So let me go ahead and cover that real quick. First of all, ma'am, you are overreacting. You are overreacting by a long shot. Some people are going to say, no, that's not the case. But I'm going to say, yes, that is the case. You are overreacting by a long shot. First things first, doesn't matter how many days you guys know one another. If the man's got kids, it's better for you to know that he's got kids by the first or second date so that you can decide whether or not you want to be a stepmom. And if you don't want to be a stepmom, you're going to end interactions with this guy before you waste all of his money impressing and entertaining you when you have no desire to fit the bill of the obligations that comes with him entertaining you, because he is only going to spend time with you to find out if you will be a good person to help parent his child, not because he needs someone to help parent his child. But when men get companions, that companion, that woman that is his girlfriend, that will be his wife, will take over whatever feminine role is there. So if there is an availability for a stepmom, you're filling that role. An accountant, you're filling that role. A bookkeeper, you're filling that role. A personal assistant, you're filling that role, because that is what the good women used to do back in the 40s and 50s when they didn't have the ability to go to work. That was the feminine roles, was to fill in those blanks. So now that women are Miss Independent and too goddamn controlling and too fucking bossy, now the women want to sit here and dictate terms all the way through. The man was asking you about FaceTime, and because not because he was getting permission from you to FaceTime you, it's because that's how he was going to fucking call you. He was going to call you from FaceTime because he was watching his kid, and depending on the size and age of his kid, it would have been easier for him to do a video call with you while holding his son instead of pressing the phone against his ear, where he would be able to drop his phone, and probably an iPhone, which is pretty expensive, and break the phone just so that he could talk to you. Now, you wanting to control the narrative says, oh, well, no, you're not going to FaceTime me because I don't feel like looking at your face today, but I have no problem with talking to you by voice control. Same thing with the text message. You're seeing each other on a dating app. Dating apps are not free. The man is primarily required to pay for the dating app. Women get to utilize the dating app for free more often than not, because it requires at least one of the two members that are communicating with one another to buy the membership in order for the two members to communicate. So what a lot of women do is they'll sign up for the free membership, and they will only communicate with the men who pay for the membership so that the man can communicate with the woman. And a lot of times the startup of the account allows you to have a small number of contacts between you and the other person before they force you to start buying minutes to message the other person. No man wants to waste 67 cents a message on a dating platform when I can just fucking text you, call you, WhatsApp you if you don't want me to have your real phone number, Skype you if you don't want me to have any phone number, get off of a paid platform and talk to you on a free social media platform like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, where we can have as much communication as you want back and forth until you're ready to talk to me on the phone. But if you guys really kind of hit it off in the first 24 hours where you guys kind of feel like y'all could meet each other in person, you should be able to exchange numbers. So giving him your number so you can text him within the first 24 hours is expected, because social media dating is not for us to spend 6 months on the app. The app wants you to do that because somebody's paying for the usage. But in reality, if the man would have met you in the neighborhood, he would have gotten your contact information. If y'all pass each other at the grocery store, y'all not going to spend the rest of the day shopping together. Y'all are going to meet up. Y'all are going to exchange each other's names, exchange each other's phone number. You're probably going to have a 15-minute conversation before he's got some type of contact information, whether it's your social media handles or your direct phone number. And adults give out their phone number, their real phone number. Children give out their social media handle. Yeah, I'm going to set that standard. So even if you say, oh, well, I'm 25, I'm an adult, but I give my social media handle. No, that's some childish ass bullshit. That is a child mentality, because a grown ass man or a grown ass woman in business gives a direct phone number. And when you are transactionally dating, this is transactional dating, you as the woman are looking for a provider. That is a transaction. You as a woman are looking for a protector in some situations. That is transactional. You as a woman are trying to find out what that man is going to do or expects you to do to satisfy him, for him to protect and provide for you, which is also transactional. So there's no fucking reason why you should be talking about, oh, I don't feel comfortable about giving my phone number out to people, but I'll give you my Instagram. Well, guess what's on your fucking Instagram if people decide to go and look for that shit? Your name, your address, and your fucking phone number, because it's on your Facebook, it's on your Snapchat, it's on your Instagram. This is one of the reasons why people can Google your name and all of your history comes up. Those of you that live on social media is not your friend. You think putting stuff up on social media, oh, that's what's up, this, that, and the third. But do you realize that somebody can put your name into the search engine as a hyperlink, and every fucking thing you've ever done on that platform is connected together like a Wikipedia of you? Even your most embarrassing moments that you thought was gone, that somebody else copied and pasted and retagged or whatever, retwisted or whatever, remixed it and all that stuff still on the platform. So from the time that you was 16, 17 years old, when you first jumped up on the app, because the internet started in 2009, So by the time you was 15, 16, 17 years old on this app, acting ass, all the way until you 25, 26 years old, if you've been putting provocative photos or provocative videos up on social media for the last 15 years, and now you 30, that means that anybody can Google your username in the platform and get everything you did when you were a minor and still see the kind of person you used to be and the kind of person you are now. And if the shit ain't changed, they know that your mentality ain't changed. So you cannot tell me that, oh, it's too much to talk to him within the first 3 days. It's only been 3 days and he got my phone number in the first 3 days. I'm not comfortable with that. Fuck wrong with you? Because if he would have met you at a goddamn Walmart, he would have got your phone number that day. 24 hours. 15 minutes, he would have got your phone number. Y'all would have been in the mall, he would have got your phone number. If he'd have been standing outside of a fucking Porsche, you would have got his phone number. So you can't tell me that, oh, it's uncomfortable, it's too fast for him to get all of this information from you in the first couple days of him talking to you. Because if y'all was talking in person instead of on social media, he would be getting all this information off the first contact and the second contact. Next, the other thing that I got to point out here that makes absolutely no sense is that because you are not in control of the scenario and you are insecure and you are uncomfortable with the fact that he has a whole family environment that you are not ready for, instead of you telling him that you are not comfortable with the idea of becoming a stepmother at this time. And while y'all being whatever is cool, it is like you're not at that mentality yet, but you want to explore a longer relationship with him, then he's aware that, you know, you're into him, but you're just not really ready to have the responsibility of his kid just yet. Then you guys can work at a pace where you understand that the longer that you stay with this dude, the more likely the requirement for you to be responsible for his child is going to be. Now, this is the exact reverse of what women do to men, because women will have a child and she will wave that child in front of that man from the first date because the man's got to pay for the babysitter in order to take the woman out. This man ain't asking you to pay for the babysitter. The man's just saying, look, my child did something cool. The same way if a man was a dog lover and his dog did something silly and he sent you pictures of his dog. If you are a dog person, you're going to like it. If you don't like dogs, you're not going to like it. You're going to be insulted by the fact that he keeps sending you videos about your dog. But the fact is that if you don't like dogs and he has dogs and he's sending you photos of his dog, then you need to just tell him, I'm not a dog person. I don't really like dogs. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to maintain a relationship with you because you have dogs. Because specifically, if the dogs will become a problem over time, you are going to be the first person to make that man choose between his dog and you. And the same way he's not going to choose you over his dog is the same way he's not going to choose his child over you, which is the same way any woman with a child would expect the man to accept the child as a package deal to the woman, which means that you, ma'am, dealing with a single father, are supposed to accept this man and his child as a package deal. So two things that's going to happen on a regular occurrence. One, you're going to know something about his kid as time goes on. And two, just about every photo and video that he's going to be in, if he's in possession of his child at the time of the photo or the video, the child's going to be in it too. Now, you don't like that, then get your ass on, because you wasting his time, because he's looking for a companion that will also help him parent his child. He's looking for a companion. If his child is at the age that his child will like you if you are nice to the child, he's looking for a woman that will be good to him and good to his child. And if you are that woman, then y'all got something. But if you are not that woman, you need to get the fuck on, because it's been 3 days and you bitching. I can't see you 3 years in talking about something out of the blue. He is asking me to watch his son. It ain't no out of the blue, because you got his phone number and his child, the photos of his kid. With that much information, he could call the school and give them permission for you to come and pick up his kid. And you could go there like a Mrs. Person's report and say, can you show me where this little boy is, and check that child out? Serious. So, I mean, if you're willing to step up and be responsible, just step up and be responsible. But stop being controlling over the situation, talking about something. Oh, I didn't tell him he could FaceTime me. And sir, if you're listening to this and you're the guy with the kid, get rid of this bitch, because she being too goddamn controlling over the situation out the gate. She already know the responsibility that comes with being with you, and she does not want that responsibility, and she finding every little situation to bitch about, from the first 3 days. By 90 days in, when she's no longer head over heels for whatever sex is going on, she gonna be giving you a bad time. And sir, if she bitching right now, she gonna be bitching way more later. And later, because you financially invested in her, you're gonna feel obligated to cow tip to her bullshit. But as a single father, what is this single woman bringing to the table for your family that is missing a mother figure for your child in your house? Not saying that the mother is not involved in the child's life, and the child does deserve to have the child's mother, and nobody should replace the child's mother. But while the child is with the father, there is a female figure that is missing out of the house, and this girlfriend is going to fill that role. So, I mean, if she doesn't want that role, then why the fuck is she getting involved with a man that's got a child? And that man is taking good care of his child. Look at how men have stepped up in the past 20 years. Y'all remember back in the 90s when men were running from the responsibility of being a father? And not here y'all got in 2024. Men are going to court for decades, fighting the legal system to get custody and possession of their child, where y'all don't want the men to be fathers to their children. Then the children are going to come up talking about I grew up in a broken home. My father wasn't there. No, it wasn't that your father wasn't there. It was that your mother was being too much of a bitch to let your father be there, because if your father could have been there, he would have been there. That's why there was a legal case with your name on it that lasted 10, 12, 13 years, because your daddy was there fighting the whole time and your mama kept getting in the way. And it's not just the mama. A lot of times the state gives the child to a foster home and don't even let the biological family have access to the child, where the family was fighting for the child for decades, and the child still don't get with the biological family, even though the biological family is deemed qualifiable of taking care of the child the whole time with no interruptions. So all of this being said, ma'am, if you're in a situation where you're not satisfied with the man that you got just because he got a kid, and because he's going to make it a point to contact you because you're important to him while he's parenting his child, then just leave. Go get you a man that doesn't think that you're important, that's only going to sleep with you when he feels like it, throw you a little bit of money for your phone bill so that he can call you whenever he get ready, and never value you, never marry you, never will you his entire estate. Just get you a man that doesn't want you for nothing important, and then you'll be satisfied. But wait, you will be the person that comes up onto the thing talking about how you're not appreciated by your man after that, right? And then when you break up with that guy, probably have kids with that guy, then you're going to be looking for a single man that's willing to do what the man you got right now is trying to do. Make it make sense, ladies. Let's see if I can find the next comment up in here, because I know I messed up my position.
Of our children. We honestly don't really fight much at all. He does
this
these
is the
things
one that
when he is alone.
hold on a second, y'all. I got to move up a little bit further, because this is the woman that boyfriend was putting holes in the wall because she was acting ass
about my body. Since I've been healthy lately, I started to feel the confidence to finally get out there and go out on a date. Things went well initially. I invited.
Oh, this is that's the one where the lady went, wow, I went all the way back. I went all the way back.
And how he wouldn't sleep with me because
she's the one that was mad about the dude that didn't want to date her or didn't want to sleep with her. I don't understand why she did that.
Could this be a boundary issue?
Yeah, boundary issue. There we go.
And the conversation flowed well. It didn't feel forced. On day 2, he asked if we could text, and I hesitantly agreed. I usually don't do that so early. Later that evening, while I was out at the store,
we'll roll straight
he
into the
called
next
me.
story, because
I would have preferred if he had asked first if it was a good time to call, or even if calling was okay. Is that just me?
So my apologies. We had that same internet fluctuation that we've been dealing with. We've been dealing with for a while now. So let me go ahead and grab this trusted network. Yeah, it's a trusted network. Let me go ahead and try to grab this audio file here and see if we can pick it back up where we were. We were hold on a second. Almost in the 4-minute range. Let me see if this
conversation flowed well.
Yeah.
We could FaceTime later that night.
Pictures
and videos of him every day.
I
get that he loves his friend is married but separated. I've told him
up, too far up. Hold on, guys.
My husband puts his hand on my arm to signal to me that I should stop talking when with friends.
I'm gonna back this up real quick. Hold on a second. I want you guys to hear this shit.
My husband puts his hand on my arm to signal to me that I should stop talking when with friends. I find this upsetting. What should I do?
Ma'am, you should shut the fuck up. That's what you should do. So if your man hears you saying some shit that you're not supposed to say in front of somebody else, and he grabs your arm to give you the signal, shut up. It is equivalent to if you kicked him under the table. It is equivalent to if you touched his thigh under the table. It's equivalent if you gave him a kind of situation. It means don't finish what the direction of your conversation is going. So if you're talking and while you're saying something, he just comes and he just kind of grabs your arm a little bit and kind of gives you the shut the fuck up grab, then bitch, shut the fuck up. That's what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. Because if the role was so reversed and the situation was going on where he was in front of your family members and he was having a conversation with, say, your dad or somebody, and he's about to start getting into some personal shit that you don't want your daddy to know about, you might grab your boyfriend's arm or grab your husband's arm so that he know don't continue talking about that without actually verbally telling him to stop talking, because it is more embarrassing to you as well as him for you to verbally tell him to stop talking, the same way it is verbally disrespectful for him to tell you to stop talking in front of somebody else. So him giving you the silent cues to shut the fuck up, then shut the fuck up. Why are you getting mad about that? Why are you irritated that when he doesn't want you to talk about something that you're going to complain about the fact that he just kind of grabbed your arm a little bit so that you know don't say anything else about that topic? Your lawyer would do the same thing. So let's be honest. If you saying too much shit, shut the fuck up. That is how that works. And that is mutual respect. And if you understand the type of topics, because typically your boyfriend or your husband is going to grab your arm about the same type of topics. So whenever those topics arise, you're going to notice that he's grabbing your arm about the same conceptual topics, which means that if you understand that you don't want your arm grabbed when your friends start talking about some shit, you know that he going to grab your arm about that topic. You need to change the fucking topic. Don't entertain the topic you know that your boyfriend or your husband does not want you to entertain, because you as the woman would have been in the same situation that if you had a boyfriend or a husband that was entertaining a topic that you did not want him to entertain, you would be grabbing his motherfucking arm too. So knowing that, you need to shut the fuck up. That is how you solve that problem. You do not continue to allow yourself to be involved in a conversation that your boyfriend is telling you do not be involved in. That's how that works. Don't be involved in the fucking conversation. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got some juicy ones coming up.
My boyfriend is married but separated. I've told him if he isn't divorced by the end of the year, we're going our separate ways. So far, there's been no change. What should I do?
Why the fuck is you bitching? So here go my first problem, ma'am. You are dating a married man. I don't give a fuck if he's single. Nah, he ain't single. He's married. I don't give a fuck if he's separated. You are dating a married man with knowledge. you and your controlling ass is going to give him a choice of doing something about it, or you're going to leave. You need to just hang out and wait 2 years, because first and foremost, outside of unreconcilable differences, most states require that a married couple separate for 12 months and receive counseling before a divorce is authorized, especially if one of the two parties does not agree to the divorce. So if he wants a divorce and the wife doesn't want a divorce, he has to go through a process, which is why they are separated but not divorced. Then, if he is in a situation where he's more financially successful than her, he has to prepare to relocate his assets so that when he gets the divorce, that she is not taking all of his fucking money. You want him to be able to marry you so that you are entitled to his estate. But what you don't understand is that if he gets divorced incorrectly, half of his fucking paycheck will go to the other woman and his remaining money will be accessible by you. And if that is not a acceptable amount for you, you are still going to leave his ass, because you are not trying to be his last woman for the rest of his life, kind of ride or die kind of chick. You are not trying to be there with him through thick and thin, because if you was trying to be there with him through thick and thin, you wouldn't give a fuck if he finished his divorce or not. Because the only thing, marriage is not just something that's done under the eyes of the Lord in most religions. Marriage is a contractual obligation. It's a financial agreement in the United States and most countries, where the tax breaks and tax write-offs and deductions and stuff that come from being married, where you're combining the estate of the man and the woman, where you're not, it's a transaction. It's a transaction. And again, since it is a transaction, why do you give a fuck if the merger between your company and his company happens while he's still in a merger with another company? If he doesn't separate from the other company the correct way, half of his estate goes with the other company. And if you expect him to be able to take over half of your financial obligations, he can't lose half of his estate to the other party. So you, as the new girlfriend, are supposed to be trying to help him iron out all of his details so that all of the shit that he got doesn't get taken from the other chick. If you were smart, you would be telling him, put the house in a trust, relocate the cash capital that you got coming in, put that into a trust. If you could take your income and throw it into an LLC of some sort, where the LLC is in a trust, where nothing directly goes to him, so that when he gets divorced, he owns nothing, and she can't get alimony because he doesn't really have an income. That's going to be the only way that you can protect your man. But if you're not going to come up with some ideas to help this man protect his assets before this woman clean him out, why are you sitting over here talking? You might as well just leave that man alone, because you're getting on his fucking nerves already. He divorced a woman because she got on his fucking nerves, and you getting on his fucking nerves before y'all even got married. He need to just get rid of your ass, because you ain't no better than the ex-wife right now, telling him what he better do. And if he don't do what you say do, then you gonna leave. Then get the fuck on, because you are supposed to be here aiding his agenda. He's not here to aid your agenda. He's not here to satisfy your objectives. You're here to satisfy his objectives. He's going to dedicate himself to your objective by default, but he's not here to satisfy your objectives. You're here to satisfy his objectives. His ex-wife did not satisfy his objectives, which is why he separated. You are not satisfying his objectives. So if he married you, he would have a repeat of the same, where he would be divorced a second time, because you are not easily satisfiable. You're complicated as fuck while you're complaining about a complex situation, talking about some do it by the end of the year. He can get the ball rolling by the end of the year, but you know that if he's separated for 12 months before he files for divorce, a divorce from abandonment of the marriage is easier to close than a divorce where there's a difference of unreconcilable differences. The court must determine that it is unreconcilable differences before they approve the divorce. Don't think that just because you file a divorce that the judge approves of it. The judge usually approves of the divorce without a problem if both parties agree on the divorce. And if he has moved on in the relationship, he agrees to the divorce. But that don't mean that she agrees to the divorce. And if she refuses to divorce him, he cannot get divorced. He has to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this marriage is not going to work, no matter how much she doesn't want to divorce him, in order to get the divorce. So for you to be sitting over here making his life difficult, you need to get the fuck on, because you ain't helping. You ain't helping. And if you ain't part of the solution, you're part of the fucking problem. Which is why the other man is throwing binkies at the wall, putting holes in the wall with fucking binkies and shit, and chair shot and fences and shit, because y'all be getting on these men nerves. Y'all be working these men to their last umpteenth temper. They 38 hot. They at the 98 degree level, because y'all won't leave them the fuck alone. They're gonna blow their stat. They're gonna have an aneurysm. They're gonna have a stroke because y'all worrying these men. Y'all got these men blood pressure so goddamn high. Instead of y'all trying to bring peace to these men's lives, y'all are bringing chaos to these men's lives. I don't know why the fuck y'all doing that, but because y'all bringing chaos to these men's lives, these men are not happy, and it is y'all's fault that the man ain't happy. The same way it's the man's fault that the woman ain't happy because the woman is unsatisfied with her unrealistic expectations. You're going to blame the man for not meeting your expectations, even though your expectations are unrealistic, because the shit you want him to do for you, you don't even do for yourself. Likewise, the simple shit that he wants you to do for him, you are not doing. He is unhappy with you because of how you treating him, because you ain't got to bring shit else to the table but some ass and a good attitude. That's it. That's it. And if you're a fucking helper, then you're golden. So 3 things: be a good ass helper to the fucking agenda, have a positive attitude, and give them some ass. If you can do them 3 things, you can't go wrong as a fucking wife. But a man's got to be a certain height, certain weight, certain build, make a certain amount of money, have a certain quantity of assets, and be willing to spend all of his fucking money on you. And not complain about you having emotional attachments with other men. Not complain about how you look when you out there dressing like a 304 out there. They can mistaken you for being for sale with the way you dress. He can't tell you how you disrespecting yourself, much less how you disrespecting your children, much less how you disrespecting him. He can't tell you nothing. You do whatever you want. You in control of yourself because it's your body. You do whatever you want, but you're in control of everything that he do. That controlling ass behavior right there, 2024, 2025, men are steering away from that shit. We ain't trying to deal with that shit no more. So, ma'am, yeah, what should you do? You should take your ass and go somewhere else. That's how you solve that problem. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the next one here.
I need a perspective on this situation. My husband ended his 2-year affair 7 months after discovery. He had some clothes and a bunch of shoes he brought back from her place. Do you think it was him who ended it, or it was her? Is it possible it's still going on?
Unless it's laundry day and he left his laundry by her house for 2 years and he decided to bring it back because your washer and dryer works better than hers. When he brought his shit back, he brought his shit back because he ain't going back over there no more. So to answer the second question, it's done. No, ain't nothing else going on, because he done basically moved out of her place. Okay. Now, first question, does it really fucking matter? Because if he was smashing this chick for 2 years and you found out about it 7 months ago, that's almost a whole nother year. He did not give a fuck that you knew that this 2 year life. It's not like the relationship was 2 years. You caught him and he was trying to cover it up. And as soon as he found out that he had this relationship going, that he ended it right away. He had a 2-year long relationship with a woman that was making him happy in a way that his current wife was not making him happy. Okay. And then 7 months after his wife found out that this relationship existed, the relationship ended. It don't matter if the other woman made him choose between you and her, and he chose to stay with you because he loved his wife, but he loved the way he was being treated by the extra girl. It don't matter if the other girl left him because he had too many obligations with his family and he couldn't commit to her. It don't matter if he left her because she started acting like you, and if he's going to get treated like shit, he might as well get treated like shit by his wife instead of getting treated like shit by his girlfriend. It don't matter why they broke up. What matters is is that he clearly was not negatively impacted by the security of his marriage. That his 2-year, 7-month long relationship outside of his marriage was known for the last 7 months of his relationship outside of his marriage. He was not concerned at all. So when he decided that he was coming back, you were supposed to be proud of that, covet that. And if you're going to continue with your marriage, work on your marriage, don't dwell on a relationship that is not part of your marriage, because if your ass wasn't going to divorce him for the cheating in and of itself, then don't worry about it. Doesn't matter if he does it again. If, as the wife, you really want to do something constructive, find out what about the other woman had him with a 2-year, 7-month long relationship during your marriage, because your marriage was longer than his 2-year, 7-month relationship with that person. First thing, a man is going to want variety. So you understand that part. But beyond variety, what made him hang around for 2 years and 7 months with an extra person outside of his marriage? What was she doing that you were not doing? What was she not doing that you were doing that caused him to get away from your bullshit and go to her and have peace with this other woman for 2 years and 7 months? That's the question you need to be asking. And when you answer that question, you're more than likely qualified to not have a second affair in your marriage. If you can satisfy all expectations of your man outside of him having the desire for variation, then he's less likely to have an affair. But if you're not going to figure out what you're not doing or what you are doing that is compelling him to go get peace outside of your marriage, then you are expecting to not have him go back to the last girl, but more likely he will have another girl. So think about that. And I know closed-minded people are going to say, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be. No, cheaters is the first person perspective, blah, 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 blah. No, it takes 3 people to have an affair. The 2 primary people in the relationship to not be on the same wavelength, and a third person to not have a problem with being involved in the mix. It takes 3 people. It ain't just the 2 people that's having the affair, because the 2 people that were in the relationship would not be in an affair style relationship if the 2 people only needed each other. But whatever that person is missing, they're going to get it from that affair. So you have to understand that while you don't necessarily have to drive your partner to the affair, you could also be forgetting to do shit that your partner would prefer that you did, and it's getting done by somebody else, and that's why they're getting it from the affair. Something as simple as respect, admiration, and appreciation. If he's getting it from the affair and he's not getting it from you, that's where you're going wrong. Compassion. If he's getting that from the affair but he's not getting it from you, that's what's going wrong. Partnership. If he's getting cooperation from the other person and you're dominating him, that's where you're going wrong. So figure out what he was getting from the other woman that he wasn't getting from you. Whether you wasn't doing it or you was doing it and shouldn't have been doing it. Find out what it is and then change, because that is how you're going to prevent the affair from happening a second time. But let's go ahead and move into the next comment here.
What are signs your partner wants to leave you?
Oh, that audio file didn't come up very well. Hold on a second, buddy. Before we go into that one, let me back it up a few ticks. She said, what are signs that your partner is going to leave you?
What are signs your partner wants to leave you?
What are signs that your partner is going to leave you? Well, there are a plethora of signs depending on if you're male or female. Sign number 1 from the fellas. He no longer gives a shit about what you think or how you feel. He is out. He is making excuses to leave and stay gone. He is not coming home late because he's working late. He is coming home late because every other location that was open is no longer open, and he does not want to spend money staying in a hotel. He is staying in a hotel. He does not want to come back to the house where you are. These are some, when a man is fed up, he stops talking to you. He stops doing stuff for you. He stops doing stuff with you. And he starts really spending more time as far away from you as possible, even if he's in his man cave. Goes to work, comes back, hides in the man cave, and stays there all day until it's time for bed. And then he's sleeping in a different bedroom. Then when he wakes up, he's gone before you get up. He is tired of your ass. Now, women are different. A woman picks a fight with you when she's done because she wants the argument to be the reason why y'all broke up. A woman will piss you off so that you break up, so that she doesn't have to break up with you, so that you can blame you for being the unrealistic person in a relationship. A woman will disrespect you in front of other people. She does not value you. She does not appreciate you. She does not respect you. She does not show compassion for you. She does not do anything for your benefit. She puts herself before you and does not care if you are taken care of. That is a woman that does not want you. Now, when she is done with you, she done took everything she could take from you. You see her spending more time treating another man better than she's treating you. Whether that's her quote unquote friend, or if she just straight up moved on and she's dating somebody else. She'll come up missing. She don't got to justify where she was. She keeping secrets. She wants you to be transparent, so she gets to go through your phone and make sure that you're not doing anything while she's cheating on you, and you can't go through her phone. You can't find the hidden gems of infidelity that she's got. Extreme insecurities. She gonna be stalking your ass to make sure that you're not fucking up because she's fucking up. You're gonna see a lot of this chaos where your relationship once was peaceful. Your relationship is full of unnecessary chaos. That's when she is ready to go. And when she's not showing you respect, whether she's ready to go or not, it is time for her to go, because you should not be in a relationship where you're being disrespected. So let's go ahead and see what the other one, if we can get the audio file to work, right? I'm going to have to double down on the audios.
I am so in love with my girlfriend. I am flexing. I do not care about what you think about honeymoon periods and their end dates. I am happy, and that's all that matters. I am 21 and my girlfriend is 20, are both from UK. We have been officially together for around 6 months now, with a 2-month history before officially getting together. Our first date. Perfect. Fully had each other so hooked that we said I love you after 2 days. Boyfriend and girlfriend literally after the second date. Everything we do is perfect. I am happy with her, she is happy with me. Intimacy life is literally incredible. We live together, cook for each other. We don't argue. We have mild bickering about topics we may not agree on, and it's genuinely silly things like plants or something on a show, and we laugh afterward. She is brilliant with my parents. Same goes with me to hers. We have typically the same interests. The only interest we don't agree on is my wanting to play the game with my friends for hours on end L. I am so glad I found her, because before I met her, I was ready to give up dating. No advice is needed. No little thoughts where things could go wrong. I am just a very happy person. I wouldn't change anything for the world how it all happened. Glad I said what I said when I did, and how I did it too.
That man is happy. The only problem he's going to deal with is that she don't like him playing video games. Now, you're going to have to work that out with her now before it becomes a problem later, whether you want that advice or not, because women that want attention from men will delete your Madden account. They will break your PlayStation. They will destroy your entire avatar profile just so that you can spend more time with them. But what women don't understand is that just like a man plays video games, a woman will write in her journal, Just like a man plays video games, a woman will get a hobby that she does, that she likes to do, and she would not want a man to destroy her hobby just so that he could see her face. Because if he destroys what matters to her most next to him, she will only look at him with hatred and vengeance. Likewise, ladies, if you got a boyfriend that plays video games, and most men these days play video games, especially in their 20s, because the gaming industry really started popping off in the 80s. So 80s babies are 40 right now. So you've got 40 and 50-year-old gamers that are playing almost as well as the 20-year-old gamers that just started playing video games between 16 and 18 years old. So if you're dating a man, these two been dating for 8 months. If y'all been dating for the last 8 months, and lady, this man been playing video games since before you met, you need to stop getting mad about him playing video games. If you really want to do something, this is how anybody finds common ground with anybody who prioritizes an activity over social interaction. You do that activity with that person when you want that person's attention. That's how you do it. If he plays chess, learn how to play chess. If he plays basketball, learn how to play basketball. If he plays Call of Duty, learn how to play Call of Duty, because that is how you bond with your partner. Likewise, if she's a cooker, learn how to cook. If she's a sewer, learn how to sew. If she's a book club, learn how to read books and get in there and analyze the book and sit in there being the only dude in the book club, giving more in-depth thought to the topics than the women that are sitting there just talking about how hunky the guy looks in the story based on their imagination. If you really want to bond with your partner, instead of complaining about them spending too much time doing a specific topic, do that topic with them. So if he's if you're playing ML, so that might be Major League Baseball. If you're playing, Madden or something like that on a regular basis, and that's what you like to do all the time, so that she's not interrupting your gameplay when you're not on the game, she should be on a different console so that she's not fucking up your profile and fucking up your stats. She should be on a different console, creating her own profile and practicing with other gamers to learn how to play the game. Then when she gets reasonably good enough, when you get on the game, she wants to spend time with you, you should be able to slide over. She should be able to pick up a second controller, and y'all should be able to play a two-man operation. The best marriage that you can have is if you've got two 64-inch TVs in the living room side by side with two identical gaming consoles with the exact same game on it, and both of y'all go online and y'all are working together to fuck over everybody else on the game. That is when you got a perfect marriage. Because, lady, that man ain't going nowhere if your duo is his fucking girlfriend. Do you understand that if he is ranked #1 in Call of Duty in a two-man team and his partner is his girlfriend, that's a keeper. Real shit. Just like, I don't know if y'all seen that, for those of you that are watching on TikTok, the man who went to jail, his girlfriend was playing his GTA 5 account to keep his stats up. Dude's doing hard time, and she's on GTA sniping folks, stealing cars, shooting at people to keep up his stats on GTA 5. So when he gets out, his whatever his rank is, it's still going to be that rank, if not higher. His game is not going to lose stats because he ain't been on the game for however many months or years that he's locked up. That is a good girl. That is a loyal girl. That is the kind of chick that you want to keep, because she values the things that he values. So a good woman is going to value the things that a man values. The same way women expect a man to value the things that women value, the woman is supposed to value things that the man values. So if he values playing PlayStation, you value playing PlayStation. Because if you don't value playing PlayStation, your bitterness, your envy, your jealousy of this gaming console is going to cause you to make him choose between you and the gaming console. And that will be the end of your relationship, because no man will ever choose a woman over his dog, his car, his gaming console. He might choose the woman over his money to a reasonable extent. He might choose the woman over his job to a reasonable extent. But no rational man will sacrifice his gaming console, his pets, his children, or his car. It's not going to happen. You make him choose, baby. You just fired yourself. You just fired yourself. It's like punching a ref and say, call a penalty now. I dare you. You get a black flag. It ain't even a red flag. It's a black flag. You're out the door. So just remember, you bitching about him playing too much time on a video game right now. I'm just letting you know. Instead of you bitching about him spending too much time on a video game, you need to spend more time on a video game. Then, after you give a little bit of time on a video game, you can ask him if he can give you a little bit of time doing something that's not the video game. So you still get to spend some time with him doing something that he likes to do, but then he will be able to spend more time with you doing something that you like to do. That is compromise in a relationship. And if you don't have compromise in a relationship, this shit's not going to work. Let's see, what else do we have here today?
I am a 27-year-old female and I proposed to my girlfriend who is 27, but she said she didn't like it. What can I do to fix this? So long story short, my girlfriend of 3 years wanted to get married for a little bit now. She even would send me different proposals of celebrities or other people on the internet. I did the proposal in a different way and I thought she would love it, but she didn't. I didn't make it as extravagant as the different posts she sent me, but I had a photographer. We saw a musical afterward and then we went out to eat. Just a day later she told me she didn't like it. I'm upset and I'm not sure what to do in this situation because I felt I did the best I could with what I had and I thought the most important thing was us spending our lives together. I couldn't afford a grand thing and I knew I wanted to do it before the end of the year. She loves the ring though, probably her most favorite thing. We got into an argument and I want to fix this, but it cow.
Bro, I'm going to tell you, ma'am, broski, just got to throw it out there. All men have this problem. This is how women treat all men. She wants a specific type of proposal, and if you don't give her a specific type of proposal, she's not satisfied. You're not rich, but you're wasting all of this fucking money giving her a fictitious idea of a proposal. You two spending the rest of your lives together is what's important. It is the thought that counts. You put forth effort into showing her how important she was that day, and she did not appreciate you or your effort. I would say, fuck it. Either you're going to marry her knowing that she is ungrateful and unappreciative of the efforts that you put into her, or you're going to kick her ass to the curb because you want to be treated better than that. It doesn't matter if a woman is marrying a woman and being disrespected when you are in the male position by the female position, or if you're a man dating a woman being disrespected by the woman the same way. I'm going to give you the same advice. When these females are not treating their partner correctly, that partner needs to walk right on out of there. Yeah, her greedy gold digging ass is going to be glad that you got her the ring. That's all she really wanted out of the situation was the fucking ring. If you're not going to give her the fictitious proposal that she was hoping for. But if you understand that all she wanted out of that whole event was the fucking ring, you really could have took her to the store, pointed at a certain selection of rings, and tell her, pick one of these, it's yours. And that's it. We're engaged now. Yeah, that is not extravagant. Yeah, that is not elaborate. But that basic shit, the ring itself is a promise of commitment before the marriage. It's a waste of money. You would have did better buying her some stock with that money. But the fact that you got the ring, that it is what it is. You wasted all of this money on this event to propose to her. She's not satisfied with the event. The money you wasted on the event, you could have invested in Bitcoin. Y'all would have had some money for this divorce that's coming up. It's a waste of money. But you're going to waste a bunch of money on the wedding to try to make it up to her because you didn't propose to her the way she wanted to be proposed to. Wives are wives before they're married. And a wife is not going to dictate terms as to how you're going to marry her, because she has been waiting on you to commit to the way she is now, because she's not going to change after you marry her unless she gets worse. Women that are not worthy of being a wife has all these expectations. They're not going to meet your expectations, but you got to meet their expectations. They're not worth dating and they're not worth marrying. But because we want this person, we go the extra mile to meet their expectations while recognizing they have no intention of meeting our expectations. We need to stop wasting our time doing that. It doesn't matter if it's a woman dating a woman that's ungrateful or a man dating a woman that's ungrateful. If the woman that you propose to is ungrateful, you no longer are dating that woman. If you care about her enough where she wasn't satisfied with the engagement, then you let her pay for the wedding. Since she wasn't satisfied with your efforts in the engagement, you are engaged now. If you're going to marry her, egalitarian lifestyle 2024. You didn't put in enough into the engagement. Let her put the rest into the marriage. She will have whatever fucking wedding she wants if she pays for it. But if you're paying for it, you're going to do it within your means. You're not going to waste a bunch of money for she's showing you pictures and photos and videos of celebrity engagements. The way Beyonce and Jay-Z got married, most Americans can't afford that shit. You can't tell me that because Beyonce got Jay-Z a $50 million Rolex watch or some shit, that every woman is going to give a man a fucking Rolex. Most women won't even buy a man a tie, much less a goddamn quartz watch, much less a fucking Timex. Do you think that somebody's going to get you a Louis Vuitton? These women is not going to spend $2,000 on buying a man no watch or no necklace or no ring, but you want the man to buy you a $35,000 engagement ring followed by a $6,000 or $7,000 wedding band. It includes his ring, but no, you're not spending that type of money on your boyfriend. Jay-Z bought a fucking private island. Do you think that most men can afford to buy a woman a fucking brand new car, much less a private island? If he can get you a used car, just be glad that your ass ain't walking no more. You got to think about it's the thought that counts. And that's the way things used to be in the 40s and 50s before women's liberation, and they were burning bras in the street and then demanding all of these unrealistic expectations free from responsibility and reciprocation. Back then, you got what your man could give you, and you was proud of the fact that he dedicated everything he had to getting you the little shit that you had, because a man that's on your level can get you what you can get for yourself. You're not appreciative of the shit that you could do for yourself. You're only appreciative of getting shit that you cannot do for yourself, which makes no fucking sense, because you're not willing to reciprocate by giving him something that he can't do for himself. You're not willing to be the kind of woman that's going to treat your man the way he's never been treated before. You're not going to get there and idolize and worship the man and value the man and covet the man in a way that he's never been treated before. You're not going to respect this man and put this man on a pedestal the way he's never been treated before. You're going to treat him like shit the way every other woman has ever treated him, but you expect him to treat you like you are the only one of its kind. When there are 155 million women in America alone, 4 billion women in the world, and all of you primarily act almost the same way. Some of y'all got more class than others. Some of y'all got more respected men than others, but a lot of the negative fucked up ass behavior comes out of them in different variables from each woman, from woman to woman. Men are similar. Women will get with a man, and most men have some of the same characteristic flaws. Some have less respect for women. Some have less desire for responsibility. Some have more respect for women. Some have more desire for responsibility. But the same stupid ass decision-making process that most men have, no matter where you get the man from, the magnitude of the stupid ass decision is going to be what you have to deal with. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, men was wasting all their money on cars. Now in 2024, men are wasting all of their money on downloaded content and PlayStation Live and Xbox Live and PC Live and all of these online video games. You're still wasting money. You're just wasting it on something different. Back in the day, back in the late 70s, men was wasting all their money on expensive jewelry for themselves. They still wasting money. The core fuck up that men have, if they're going to have that characteristic, they're going to have that characteristic. It's just going to be different from man to man. The same disrespectful behavior that women produce is going to be the same disrespectful behavior that women produce. It's just going to be a different variation of it from woman to woman. So really and truly, if you are engaged to a woman that did not appreciate the fact that you planned, you paid for professional photographers, you proposed in a public place that you thought that she would like, and because it wasn't the one she asked you for, she didn't appreciate that, I wouldn't do nothing else for her. Lucky if we got married after that, because if you didn't, if we argued about the engagement, don't you know we about to argue about the fucking wedding? Because if I couldn't afford the engagement that you want, do you think I can afford the wedding that you want? Because the effort of the engagement is usually 10% of the cost of the wedding. That's why the engagement ring is $35,000 and the wedding is $125,000. So if the opera symphony photos and everything like that with the engagement ring wasn't enough, then you already know that she's going to want to have an island beach wedding with 2,000 of her closest friends, knowing that she only got 2 people that like her fucked up ass behavior, but she's going to invite everybody that knows her name to come to her wedding. And now you got to pay to feed all these ignorant ass motherfuckers coming to your motherfucking wedding, and they're going to be bringing you gifts that are less than $20. They're going to be bringing you toasters and back massagers and all this stuff. They're not going to bring you relevant shit. Nobody comes to your $150,000 wedding outside of like your father or your mother or somebody like that who really values you. Nobody else is going to come to your fucking wedding and bring you a car, a house, shit that you can use. If you already got a car and a house, bring you a warranty package to help you fix your car, bring you a extra insurance pack, put solar power panels on your house or some shit. They're not going to do that kind of stuff. They actually put more effort into your baby shower than they put into your wedding, because at least with your baby shower, they're going to bring you a bunch of shit that you need to take care of this child. With your wedding, they're not going to bring you shit that you need to take care of your marriage. You know, one of the best fucking gifts that you can get from somebody in a goddamn wedding is a 5-year membership to a family therapist, because that's what the fuck you're going to need. That is like the best gift that you can get in a goddamn wedding is 2 therapists, 1 individual so that you can talk shit about your partner without your partner being there, and 1 where you can work out your differences with your partner and a therapist. 2 therapists. That's a damn good gift. And them therapists ain't cheap, between $30 and $150 an hour. And you're going to have to see that motherfucker every week. So you're talking about a 30 grand package where you got 300 visits with this therapist. That's a good wedding gift. That's a good wedding gift. But a toaster, a crock pot, knowing that this bitch don't cook, that shit don't work. That's not good for you. Okay? But that's what's going to happen. The amount of money that they spent on the gift is less than the open bar at the goddamn wedding. They got their money back on the gift they gave you based on how much food and alcohol they drink at your wedding reception. You really would have saved so much money by taking the money you wasted on this wedding reception, getting married by the justice of the peace, and buy your whole fucking wish list on fucking Target. You would have saved so much money, because you would have wasted money on the shit that you wanted, but you wouldn't have spent $100 grand on the 150, 200 gifts you would have got for your marriage. Because think about it now. You got to buy the venue. You got to pay for the reception hall, which might be a second venue. You got to pay for the wedding dress. You got to pay for the pastor. You got to pay for the limo. You got to pay for all this shit that you're never going to use again unless you get divorced from this bitch. You're never going to use this shit again. So this is one-time purchases. And from these one-time purchases, you done threw away 2 to 4 years, depending on how much money you make, 2 to 4 years of income you done wasted on impressing this bitch so that she could tell everybody that she's dedicated to you. And these days, these females will get married to you, and they aren't even willing to say the traditional marriage vows, which requires them to obey. Respect and obey, they don't want to say that part. The richer or poorer part, they don't want to say the or poorer part. You understand? They're even telling you what they're not willing to dedicate themselves to. Well, if you can't dedicate yourself to me 100% of the way, we can't get married because you want me to give everything to you. If you leave, you take half of it, but if you stay, you get all of it. What the fuck am I getting? Look, I normally say as the man in the relationship, but because this is two women getting married, as the masculine part of this relationship, I'm gonna tell you, dude, ma'am, that shit ain't gonna fly. And I swear to y'all gonna get married 9 months in, y'all gonna start having complications. 2.5 years in, y'all are gonna be unsatisfied. One of y'all is gonna start cheating. Y'all might work that shit out, but there's a strong possibility 3 to 4 years in, you're getting a divorce. If it lasts that long. Because if she arguing and fussing and fighting with you, when you spent all your money to propose to this bitch. So you are actually doing a public grand gesture to show her how valuable she is to you. And she just disrespected the fuck out of you, which shows you how valuable you are to her. Now, what the hell do you think she gonna do to you if you marry her, knowing that she don't give a fuck how you feel if you don't give her what the fuck she wants? She don't give a shit about you or your effort if you don't give her exactly what she wants. If that ain't red flags, I don't know what is. That should be black flags, not red flags. That should be black flags. But this is the kind of women y'all marry. So, dude, ma'am, I'm just going to tell you, you love her, you want to fix it, good luck, but run. And don't just run. Take the ring with you. Take the ring, bring it back to the store, take that money off of that ring, go invest it into some stocks. You will do better in the long. Your stocks will last you longer than your marriage. And truth, you would have did better if you'd have did that. If you would have proposed to her by showing her the stock option that you bought because of her, that stock option would last longer than the marriage. And if that's her stock option, when y'all get divorced, she could take that stock with her. Instead of taking all of your assets, she could just take that stock with her. Get the fuck on. But it makes absolutely no sense for you to propose to a female, buy the ring, and then she complained about the proposal. She wasn't satisfied with the way you did it. If she wants you to do it a different way, that makes no fucking sense. How me valuing you wasn't done right. This is how I appreciate you. How are you telling me that I'm not appreciating you right? I feel like if I didn't do it right, then bitch, you need to get on your fucking knee and propose to me. You spend more money than I did and show me how it's supposed to be done. You go buy me a fucking engagement ring and you get out there in front of all my homeboys in the middle of a goddamn Buccaneers game and you propose to me as the Buccaneers lose again. Foresight on this marriage that we about to lose. You get out here and show me how it's supposed to be done, because it make no goddamn sense that you're gonna tell me that yo fiance that spent all this time and effort knowing you, knowing your likes, knowing your dislikes, getting there and trying to piece together a whole day event. He taking you out, entertaining you the whole damn time, just so that you can bitch about the marriage. And look, for those of you that's just coming into this conversation, this is a woman marrying a woman. So there are no men in this conversation, and I'm still defending the one that put in all the effort for the one that did not appreciate it. I am always linear. I'm still going to tell you, the one that didn't appreciate it don't deserve it. And this is two women getting together, having a fight. And you arguing with this woman put all this time and effort into the matinees and professional photographers and the engagement ring and all this other shit that she put up there so that you could be happy, so that you could feel valued in public, no less. And then you're going to bitch because the kind of proposal, the celebrity style proposal that you wanted, you didn't get. Get the fuck out of here, man. You ain't getting shit. Give me back my motherfucking ring. That's where we at right now. You done lost your motherfucking mind. If I was dating somebody for any reasonable period of time, and that person came back and told me that I was the most important person in their life and they wanted to spend the rest of their life with me, that conversation is all I needed. You ain't had to buy me shit. You ain't got to take me nowhere to have that conversation with me. You ain't got to do none of that shit. Look, Lollipops here. Sounds like that relationship ain't gonna last. No, it's not gonna last. It is not gonna last. I said that not right before you jumped on that shit wasn't gonna make no fucking sense. That she gonna come out of the woodwork. She bitching about the fact that she got proposed to. Nah, it ain't like, but hold on. This the part that got me. The ungrateful bitch liked the ring that she got though. So couldn't I have just, if I was the person proposing, it ain't as lavish, but wouldn't I have been able to just save me so much time and effort and just take you to the store, point at the rings that I can afford and tell you to pick one and we're engaged now? Wouldn't that have been easier? A whole drawn out activity, and you shot it down. You shot it down because it wasn't the Jay-Z Beyonce proposal. It wasn't the Will Smith Jada Pinkett proposal. It wasn't the Britney Spears and Kevin Federline proposal. These motherfuckers got money. These motherfuckers got money on top of money. They made more money in a month than what most of us make in 5 years. We can't have that level of proposal. We can't have 300 fucking people in an orchestra and a whole 20-man backup dancer crew. We can't have an MC Hammer cast help us propose to you. We can't do that. That makes no fucking sense. And even if we could, it would be a waste of fucking money, because all the money that you invested in that type of proposal, you could have bought enough stock where y'all could retire in 10 to 20 years. If your marriage lasts that long, y'all could retire. Y'all ain't got to work. Y'all could travel the world. Y'all could live the life of Riley and spend so much time with each other enjoying life. But you wasting all of this money on impressing this ungrateful bitch for the sake of her ego, because the gesture of love is not monetized. It has become monetized, but the gesture of love is not monetized. It's an action. It is a feeling. There should be no price tag on that. There should be no required minimum gift level for that. It should just be the verbal expression or the actual action of, this is how you make me feel. That is it. And you are supposed to love that. If I couldn't do no more than give you one of them ring pops, you supposed to be glad while you suck on that fucking ring pop. If not that ring pop, my ring pop, one of the two, you were supposed to be enthusiastic of the gesture in and of itself. But a lot of the times when we're on the show, when I'm telling you guys about how this shit don't be going right, we be picking the wrong person, and these females don't be treating us right. A lot of the times, some of the ladies get on the show and try to make it seem like I'm misguided with my expectations. Here we are. I did not expect this, but this comment came out. 2 women, and they're having the same problem that all the men are having. Now, how do we justify that? There is absolutely no way that this exact same scenario that actually we probably talked about 3 or 4 times over the past 2 or 3 months, where different men were having the same style of problem from different women that were not respecting and appreciating and valuing their actions and investment in that woman. Same stuff. And there was, the women were trying to justify it here and there. Oh, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about the other? Well, what about this scenario? You got 2 women, so there ain't no man involved. You got 2 women. One of them's in the masculine role. One of them's in the feminine role. The one in the feminine role is ungrateful and unappreciative. And the one in the masculine role is depressed and sad because they put all this extra effort into the one in the feminine role, and the one in the feminine role did not appreciate it. So when I tell y'all stand on y'all non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and I tell y'all that if these females that are in the feminine role are not willing to adhere to the objectives of the female in the masculine role, that the female in the masculine role need to drop that female and go get them a female that will accommodate their agenda. Likewise, if you got a female that's supposed to be in a feminine role and she's trying to be in a masculine role with the man that's supposed to be in a masculine role, bro, drop her for a feminine woman that will maintain the feminine roles. That's how we're supposed to be working this out. Lollipop says, because it's not based on gender at the end of the day. Right about that. It's about the type of people / personalities / expectations. Well, if we could get rid of the people and personalities, it's really just about the unrealistic expectations. That's really what it is. The type of person is not relevant, and the personality and characteristics of the person is not relevant. The disappointment comes from the unrealistic expectations of the unsatisfied party, where the effort to try to meet those unrealistic expectations from the other party is unsatisfactory. And that's a double negative, because you're going to have the person with the unrealistic expectations unsatisfied, and the person who tried their best and their best wasn't good enough is going to be depressed now because they're not good enough. But the person with the unrealistic expectations, instead of trying to maintain reasonable expectations, knowing what your partner is capable of, knowing the resources and assets and mind frame that your partner is capable of, setting goals for that person to meet. Instead of doing that, you're saying, oh, I want this up here, even though I know that you can produce this down here. And as much as that person tries to go above their capabilities, they don't meet these expectations. Now you're unsatisfied, you're angry, this person's depressed because they're not good enough for your unrealistic expectations. If the person with the extra effort found a person whose expectations was beneath those efforts, they would feel like they are on cloud 9 because their efforts are up here and the expectations are down here. And this person is able to overachieve because the expectations are reasonable. But because the expectations are unreasonable, even if you overachieve your normal capabilities, you're still not meeting those expectations. But hypergamy theorem, the women want more than what they can provide for themselves. So they're not satisfied with a partner that can provide them with what they could provide for themselves. They're not satisfied with the laws of alchemy, where what you put into this, you get out the exact same amount. They're not satisfied with equivalence. They say we're equal because you got to date down. So we're equal on a fucking slope. That makes no sense, because I got to make more money than you. I got to spend more money on you. And then you are going to come up to my level and live the lifestyle that I live, where I'm wasting my income on you for you to call us equal, because you're entitled to half of my shit so that we could be equal. But I'm not entitled to half of your shit. How are we equal? How are we on the same platform if I have to do more than you to be considered equal to you? If I have to do more than you to be considered equal to you, we're not equal. If I have to put in more than you have to put in, we're not equal. Then again, if you're going to say that, well, I'm better than you, which is why you got to put more into the thing, you're still unrealistic expectations. Because in every situation, I'm going to say, flip the script. Now, if you want your partner to spend all this extra money on you, let's flip the script. Now, you got to pay all this extra money for your partner in compensation for your partner's efforts into you. Usually when I say that, those same greedy people, oh, I shouldn't have to do that. Oh, no, that ain't my responsibility. Fuck you mean? Why am I taking you somewhere spending $50 to $100 to show you that I care? $50 to $100 a plate at some fucking restaurant. I could cook for you. I just did a show last week where I was telling you ways that y'all could eat for $5 a plate at the house. But you spend $10 on dinner. Why am I spending $150? It ain't about feeding you because you're hungry. It's about impressing you and giving you a lifestyle that you otherwise couldn't afford to give yourself. Because how many women that claim that they only eat steak dinner on dinner dates actually only eat steak dinner when they're taking themselves to eat? Not very many. Most women who lie to men, because that's exactly what it is, you're setting an expectation for two reasons. One, you technically want to reject the man, but if he's willing to waste his money on you, you'll take it. And two, you're setting the par high so that if he meets those expectations, you get a lifestyle that you otherwise wouldn't get for yourself. So this man only takes you out to steak and lobster. You get to brag to your homegirls that every time he shows up, you get steak and lobster. But when his ass ain't there, your ass is eating ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese out the box. You ain't even making your own macaroni and cheese. You got the instant macaroni and cheese with cheese powder where you pour it into the little bowl with the little noodle shells with a bunch of water in it because you forgot you couldn't afford to buy milk because your food stamp card ran out. You put the macaroni in there with the powdered cheese, and put you some faucet water in there and put it in a microwave, set it on 6. And then when you take it out, now you got your mac and cheese for the night. That's what you normally eat for yourself. But then when this man come up talking about you're the most important person to him and he wants to give you the world, well, prove it. The world costs $1 million. Give me $1 million. And then when that man do the best he can to give you $10,000, then you walk off with the $10,000 and go talk to a whole nother man that's going to give you another $10,000. I don't understand why these women are so transactional, but they're not willing to contribute to these men. They're not willing to contribute to the masculine partner in a same-sex relationship. But if you notice that two men get together and they can build an empire, you don't see too many male-male relationships with toxic chaos like this. There's negotiation. There's planning. There's cooperation. But for some reason, with the way things are right now, these women and their unrealistic expectations, it's starting to come to a head in 2024. We're at the end of 2024. We're in Q4 of 2024. We're walking into 2025, where while we have spent a whole year, we have spent the whole decade, but we spent the whole year with our soft guy era 2024 drizzle. We have spent the whole year as men telling women what the problem is. And all these women that swear to God that they're 10 out of 10s have never once said, you know what, I'm going to change. But those same women still jump up on the thing and say, I can't find a good man. Yes, there are. LOL. I know plenty. No, you don't. No generalizations. LOL. No, you don't. You don't know plenty. You don't know plenty. You couldn't give me 100 of them. You couldn't give me 30 of them. You don't know plenty. You're trying to devalue my statement by trying to make it seem like there's a bunch of women out there that actually do. When you think about it, the women that are married are not the ones we're talking about when we're talking about the single women that are fucking up the dating game. So you don't know plenty. Plenty of gay couples that are toxic. Man, you know plenty of people that are toxic. Whether they're gay couples or straight couples, you know plenty of people that are toxic. Because the statistical average is that less than 30% of gay men couples are dealing with this bullshit. The highest probability is women, lesbian couples that are 70 to 90%. And the middle group is the mixed gender relationships that are 70 to 90%. Because women treat their masculine partners like shit, and men stick it out for the long haul. So statistically, 10 to 30% of men will walk away from their relationship. And if there are two men in that relationship, statistically, 10 to 30% of those relationships will not work out. But statistically, since 70 to 90% of women walk away from the relationship because of their unrealistic expectations, 70 to 90% of female on female relationships fail. whereas only 70 to 90% of the mixed gender relationships that fail are of women. So out of the 100% of relationships that fail in mixed gender relationships, 70 to 90% of them are the women. So no, you don't know plenty, because 30% is not plenty. 30% is 30% of that. There ain't even half of the dating game that is homosexual dating. And out of that, less than half is guy on guy and girl on girl. So if you was to try to divide the dating game in where half of the group is homosexual and half of the homosexual group is men, that's still 25% of the dating game. And out of that 25%, 30% of them fail. With 30% of 25% is not a lot. So you can't tell me that is exactly. People can be toxic in general, not based on gender or role. No, ma'am. Women are toxic in general. They got more women that are still married to their men, where the men can put up with their bullshit. And there are some really good high value women that do not provide bullshit to their men. But ma'am, you've got to remember 70 to 90% of women are toxic. Statistically. You're not going to be able to show me some stats where 50% of men are toxic or abusive. Women are more violent than men. It's just allowed. Men get in more trouble for violent behavior than women. So a woman can slap a man and everybody just laugh at the man. A woman can pour her drink on a man and everybody just laugh at the man. A woman can hit the man with an object and everybody just laughs at the man. But if a man hit a woman with the same object that the woman hit the man with, the man's going to jail for 5 to 10. It is socially unacceptable for a man to strike a woman, but it is socially acceptable for a woman to emotionally and physically abuse a man. So yes, gender and role specific, generalizing the toxicity where half of a relationship is 70 to 90% that feminine role more often than not. Yes, I can generalize that. You don't like it. Whether or not you fit that description based on your observation, you don't like it. But the fact is that, yes, that is exactly the case. Because the women that are not bringing all that toxicity into their relationship is married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Women that are in their 30s that have had more partners than years lived are not sitting there doing that I'm going to make it work mentality. These women with these unrealistic expectations, they're not saying, oh, don't spend $35,000 on an engagement ring and don't spend $150,000 on a wedding. Buy me some Bitcoin. Buy me some Tesla stock. Buy me some Apple stock. I'll take that instead. But back in the 40s and 50s, a man used to bring his whole fucking paycheck home and give it to his wife and leave. And all the bills was paid. The food was there. And she did not have her hair and nails done and expensive Louis Vuitton bags and red bottom shoes. She sometimes had no hair on her head picked all over top of her head. And her husband would have to take her out and get her hair done because she spent more time taking care of her kids and taking care of her husband than she took care of herself. Selfless women have phased out. All we have now are selfish women. And I'm going to generalize that because there are not enough women to break the status quo to say that women are selfless enough to build up a man financially, to build up a man's resources, to build up the masculine partner's finances, to build up the masculine partner's resources. But I bet you every woman that claims to be in a feminine role, every woman the feminist mentality expects to be catered to, have money spent on them, have no expectations for them, have no responsibility for them. Nobody can tell them what to do. They behave how they want to behave, who they want to behave with, dress how they want to dress, and go wherever they want to go. So you have the freedom to fuck your whole life up, and your partner is supposed to Captain Save your whole ass. That is the mentality that we have to deal with in modern dating society. You ain't gotta like it, but that's the way it is. But you understand that a man's role is to protect and provide for his woman. So if a woman is really trying to find a good man, you're trying to find a man who has good character, a man who is going to value you and appreciate you and put you up on a pedestal to the magnitude where you don't need for anything. Then you end up in that scenario where your partner, the wife, is going to do everything she can to make sure that the man doesn't need for anything. And if y'all build yourselves up, then both of y'all will have what y'all want because y'all work for it together. And from the old 200 years ago laws where the women put their effort into the man's finances, the woman was entitled to half of the man's success because his success was based off of her effort. Today, women don't put effort into their partners. Whether it's a man or another woman, women don't put effort into their partners. And because they don't put effort into their partners, they should not be entitled to half of the estate when the divorce happens. They should just be separated and give their last name back. Should not be no half of the estate because you didn't do shit to deserve it. But until the laws change, where there is no visible contribution, if you get married, you're entitled to half of the estate because you got married, not because you contributed. So no, Miss Lollipop, I'm going to tell you right now, no, toxicity is toxicity. And you can call me toxic and misogynistic because I'm telling you the truth. Because the part about conspiracies is the refusal to accept the truth. But the truth is that if the female that got proposed to valued the female that did the proposal, then the female that got proposed to would have said, yes, thank you, and I love you. Not, I don't like the way you gave me this proposal. I want you to do a different one. She says, who hurt me? Nobody. That's the point. Because I'm not putting up with the bullshit. What? There you go with shaming a man. Why does a man, when a man puts the points down, when a man puts the facts down on the table, the man that brought statistics to the conversation, now you're going to try to devalue the man's opinion by accusing the man of being in some way, shape, or form hurt or bitter, where I am in some shape or form trying to vent I didn't bring this up. All of these comments were just thrown in there, and I just so happened to come across that one, and I just realized after I listened to the audio file that that's two women. I didn't even notice that. I went through a whole hour and a half worth of comments, and that one just came up. Okay. So it's not like I said, oh, well, I'm going to do a podcast today bitching about how women ain't shit. No. I talk about everything on this podcast. I talk about when women ain't behaving right, how women ain't shit. When men aren't behaving right, how men ain't shit. I'm going to talk about how when you're making bad choices in your life, whether it's in your relationship or in business, how you need to make better choices. I was giving people real estate advice before. I was giving them stock market advice before. I was teaching them how to build up C corporations and LLCs before. I was giving them budget tips on how to save money and spend money. I find there's so many things that we talk about on this podcast. I don't just sit here in a chair and say, oh, I'm just going to talk shit about women all day. It's not what I do. So I don't have to be hurt to point out the truth. I don't have to be in some way, shape, or form negatively impacted by the negative behavior of women in order for me to point out the fact that women are negative. I don't have to be in a toxic relationship to identify toxic relationships. I don't have to be able to put the statistics together to show you how women are toxic and then have to live that toxic lifestyle to say, yeah, they toxic. Then you're going to say, oh, well, it's not all women. No, okay, it's not. 70 to 90% is not all. It's the majority. And the majority could be generalized as pretty much most of them, all of them, just about all of them, if not all of them. But just like in that Sodom and Gomorrah story, where when Jesus said, if there's at least one person in the city that is full of sin, that's not with sin, that I'll spare the city. Notice he destroyed the city because the majority of the city was full of sin. So he was destroying the city, whether you were an innocent soul or not. What they did was they said, hey, Lot, you're the least corrupted person in this city. If you leave the city, you will be spared. But the majority of the city still got destroyed. If out the entire population, the father and 2 daughters are the only ones that survived because they left, not because they were innocent. The majority of the city was corrupted. So the whole city got destroyed. If you buy a package of blueberries and more than half of the container is full of mold, little fuzzy stuff, you're throwing away the whole container. Okay, you're not going to pick out the moldy ones and still eat the rest. You get you a carton of eggs, and more than half the carton, the eggs are cracked and all the yolk is missing out of them. You're putting that carton back. You're not just going to get the ones that aren't cracked. If the majority of the population is toxic, you are preparing for toxic behavior. You're not going to dismiss all of the women because they're toxic. You're not going to give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a shot just because the majority of them is toxic. But you are going to prepare yourself for toxic behavior. Even though 70 to 90% of engagements with law enforcement ends in a civilian that has not committed a crime being violently beaten and having all of their rights violated, and a lot of them ended up in jail unjustifiably, we still are required to treat police with respect as if they're not going to beat our ass and frame us for shit that we didn't do. But nobody says, oh, who hurt you? What did you get arrested for you to say that cops treat you like shit on a regular basis? No, we just look at all of the social media videos of the cops shooting unarmed civilians that should have only gotten a traffic ticket at the most, and they're being gunned down on body cameras. For what? Where most of the time they're only being shot because they decided to pull their pants up because they wasn't wearing a belt sufficiently to keep their pants up. And because their pants were sagging too low, they decided to reach to pull their pants up just a little bit more so that their pants wouldn't fall off their ass. And as their hand is coming back up, they get gunned down. Really, if you look at each one of those videos where they were getting shot at unarmed, whether they had a weapon on them or not is irrelevant. Usually the reason why they got shot was because they reached to pull their pants up a little bit, and they brought their hand back around, and so that the cop did not take the time to look to see if there was something in their hand. Because they brought their hand up from an unknown location, they shot them before they could determine if there was something in the person's hand. But all that person did, their only mistake, was they pulled their pants up. Now, I could do a whole show about why sagging your pants is detrimental to your life because of that particular action. Because if you get pulled over by a cop and you pull your pants up too many times, they'll shoot you in the face and kill you. I could do a whole show about that. But people who sag their pants is going to say, well, ain't nothing wrong with sagging pants. That's not a crime. No, it's not. But if you touch that pants too much, especially at night, they will put 13 in your chest, because police don't just do 2 shots. They don't do disarming shot. They don't shoot you in the shoulder. They're not going to shoot you in the rotator cuff where you survive the shooting. They unload a 19-round to 24-round magazine into your chest, where your heart stops before you hit the ground. And then they reload and see if you're still moving. And while your body is no longer functional, they're going to tell you, as you choke on your own blood, stop moving until your body is limp. And then when your body is limp and no longer functional because you have lost your life, they roll your corpse onto its stomach and handcuff your dead body's hands behind its back. And they leave you there until the coroner comes and scoops you up off the sidewalk 2 to 4 hours later. And if you're lucky, they might throw a sheet over your body until somebody scoops you up off the pavement like a roadkill. Now, would you say that I'm irrationally describing how innocent civilians are being treated by law enforcement just because a percentage of them makes poor choices that leads to the loss of life? Or am I rationally stating that you could potentially have your life lost if you're especially not wearing body armor, because they don't shoot most of their people in the face, they shoot them in the chest. So if you have body armor on, you might take 12 to the chest and you're more likely to survive that. But a man walking down the street with body armor on, where it's his Second Amendment right to wear body armor on, you're going to say he's crazy for wearing that body armor, especially when you're in a society where more often than not, you're going to get shot in the chest 12 times on a misunderstanding. Wouldn't logic dictate that you never leave your house without your vest, so that you're not, if any event you're in a situation where they shoot you 12 times in the chest, that you're more likely to survive that situation? Even if you have a couple cracked ribs, you're more likely to survive that situation. Most of your vital organs are protected. Doesn't that make sense? So likewise with these relationships with these toxic women that are mistreating their masculine partners. Since we're now dealing with not just women mistreating men, women mistreating masculine women. If we're not going to protect ourselves from the toxicity coming in, we're allowing ourselves to be mistreated. We're allowing ourselves to experience the devastation. And not all the time do we have the capabilities to bounce back from the collateral damage that is that toxic woman. But even you can't show me some statistics that says that, oh, I'm being irrational. You're going to tell me that, somebody hurt me. I can tell you right now, I know men that have their exes stalked them, even on their social media platform. We just did a show about that last week. We had, what's her name, Barbie, that was up here for days on end talking about how her ex-boyfriend from 4 years ago, that she is stalking him and tormenting him because he moved on. He got a whole nother woman he's been dating for over a year now. He happy, and she don't want him to be happy. And I'm telling her, leave that man alone, move on with your life. But I know from firsthand experience about exes stalking me. But as toxic as she was, as toxic as she still is, am I going to give her the time of day? No. If she was to jump on my podcast, would I block her? Yes. If I knew it was her, as soon as I recognized her, she'd be blocked. I actually blocked her 3 times, this time last year. But she still pop up on a podcast under another alias name because anonymity. I give everybody the opportunity to click the link, approve the camera, approve the mic, and say what you got to say in person. But most of the women that come here with the negative perspective that what I'm saying isn't valid don't have the courage to jump up on the camera and say that what I'm saying is wrong. I might identify you, probably why you don't want to get up here so that I can see who you are. But the men have no problem with jumping into the podcast. But ladies, y'all don't got the courage to jump into the podcast. Most of y'all that do get in the podcast, say what you got to say in the comment section. Those of you that I've had a couple of y'all that came from TikTok and went to YouTube just to see your comment on the podcast. Because the people you kick in with while you talking to me, see your comment come up on the screen. But you don't even have the courage to jump up here yourself and say it directly to me. Why? Because you know that you're unrealistic about your expectations when you're telling me that statistics. I'm coming from logic, reason, and statistics, facts that you can go and Google them shit yourself, and you'll see that everything I'm telling you is exact, 100%. I'm not exaggerating it at all. But because you don't like what I have to say, because it might apply to you, you're offended by it, and then you're going to try to misdirect my statement and devalue my statement by trying to say that in some way, shape, or form that I'm either misogynistic, insecure, traumatized in some way, shape, or form, something wrong with my childhood, or some kind of way that women devalue the conceptual understanding that men have about the bullshit that they have to go through from logical reason, fact, and common knowledge. Common knowledge. So this shit ain't even fabricated. It's common knowledge. Because you don't want to accept the truth. But think about this real quick. For those women who think that themselves, first person perspective, is a 10 out of 10, you think that you're perfect. You think that you do not need to change. But for some reason, you are single. When you're not single, you're in a bad relationship. But first person accountability, you are the reason why you were in a bad relationship, not the other person, because of your poor decision-making skills, not just in selecting another person, in how you treat that other person and how you allow that other person to treat you. You like to control the scenario. And when you can't control the scenario, you bail on the scenario. But men treat women like building blocks with no manual. They will learn how to do this shit. If they can't read a manual on how to treat this woman, they will ask every fucking question they can ask for the first 2 years of the relationship until they think they know. Women don't like that. They don't like men asking them what do they want and where do they want to go and what do they want to do, because the women want the man to already know this. But sweetheart, if a man knows what most women, you're not most women. Even if you do what most women do, you exclusively to yourself have unique characteristics, unique desires, unique expectations, and you would not want a man to treat you the same way he treated another woman. You get jealous behind that. If a man used the same words with you that he used with a woman 5 years ago, and you find that text message in his phone, you're going to treat him like shit. He don't even talk to that woman no more. But if the way he feels about you right now is the same level as the way he felt about somebody else 5 years ago, you're jealous of the other woman. But he genuinely values you the same way. But you don't want to be treated the same as somebody else. So how does a man treat you uniquely to you? He has to ask you, what uniquely do you want? What uniquely do you expect? Where uniquely do you expect to go? So how can a man be masculine and tell you what you want and you don't want to be told? But he can't ask you what you want because you expect him to already know. But he just met you, so he don't fucking know. But think about this though, ladies. Think about this. Reverse that shit. Women don't want to hear from a man what he wants. You don't give a shit. He can't tell you what he wants. He can't tell you what makes him happy. Even though he is uniquely him, his desires and expectations, he's not all men. He's exclusive to himself. So his unique wants and desires and the way that he would prefer stuff to be done is unique to him. You don't want to find that out. You won't ask any questions. You do what you do for most men because most men have appreciated this. So when you do it, you expect him to accept that. And if he don't accept that, then fuck him. That's his happy ass. You tried. But you're only doing for him what you did for the last man. If your man wants a sandwich, you're not going to ask him what kind of sandwich he wants. Or no, if your man is hungry, you're not going to ask him what he wants. You're going to go in the kitchen. You're going to make him a sandwich because most men wouldn't mind a sandwich. Don't need nothing complicated. A man at some point in your life taught you make a sandwich this way and it'll be bomb. Nobody will complain about it. And you will make that sandwich for the second boyfriend. You come to find out they don't complain. Third boyfriend, you're making the sandwich a certain way because some man taught you that. And now every man after that will like that sandwich because certain shit most men won't complain about. But you're not doing what he wants. You're doing what another man wanted you to do from way back when. And this is one of the reasons why relationships have so many problems, because women have expectations, but they're not willing to meet expectations. Women have wants, needs, and desires, but they're not willing to meet want, needs, and desires. Women want to receive, but they do not want to give first before they receive. They very rarely want to give after they receive. But when you talk to me and you tell me that something's got to be wrong with my observation skills, because uniformly speaking, we just went through the statistics where if you tried to get you a sample group of 100 people, if 50 of them were straight and 50 of them were not, 25 of them would be male on male, 25 of them would be female on female. If 30%, 10 to 30% of the male on male, that's what, 2.5 to 5 male on male relationships. That would be the problem out of 100. Whereas if 70 to 90% of women mistreat women the same way 70 to 90% of women mistreat men, that's 7 to 9 out of every 10 women, which you're looking at between 15 and 19 out of 25 failed relationships in a woman-on-woman engagement. Come on now. Statistically speaking, who's more toxic? Mathematically speaking, who's more toxic? If 25 male couples get together and 3 to 5 of those couples don't work out, but 25 female couples get together and 19 of them don't work out, who's more toxic? And when you look at there's 355 million people in America and 150 million of them are women. Out of 150 million men, 50% of the men are single, never married. So that's about 75 million of them. So 75 million men are looking for a good woman. 23% of the female population are single, not married, not dating somebody. Which what's that 23%? Somewhere around 30 million. But the statistical average of men to women is 2 women to a man. So some of the women are cheating on their boyfriends with another man in a friend zone, fuck buddy, friends with benefits and shit, work husband. But the ones that are genuinely single, out of that 23% of single women, majority of them are gold diggers. That's why they're still single, because they're playing the field. They're trying to find a richer man than the man that they already found. They're trying to find a man that's willing to spend more money on them than the man that they already found. They're getting pregnant by the wrong guy, living a lifestyle that is not conducive of what is in their best interest. And then when they get tired of that lifestyle, they're used up, mistreated, traumatized, with children, and now they're going back to the first guy that they did not appreciate the first time he showed up, and they're trying to get him to raise the kids of the guy that was not worth her time, because that was the lifestyle she wanted to live, even though that lifestyle was not in her best interest. The guy that was in her best interest, she didn't want him. The guy that was her type, who is not her best interest, she wanted him. That's why the old saying goes, good guys finish last, because the women don't want the stability and vanilla lifestyle in the beginning. They want the excitement. They want the adventure that comes with them Chris Brown uppercuts. They want the lavish lifestyle that comes with the dislocated rotator cuff. And after they get tired of getting their ass whooped, they will go find that $30,000 cashier at Walmart and settle down with somebody who got 2 jobs, who will take good care of her. But now you're 40 years old and you pissed off at the male gender because you've dated a bunch of Chris Browns and Nick Cannons, and one never faithful and the other one's always hitting on you. And now you feel like all men ain't shit. So now you're not going to give your 100% best to the next man that you settle down with at 35, 40 years old. You're going to tell him, take me as I am, damaged goods and all. But I will not be what you want me to be. But you better be what I want you to be, or I'm going to replace you with somebody else. What kind of fucking logic is that shit? But that's what we're dealing with right now. And you know what's funny? This last 30 minutes, not one female came in here and backed you up, and not one female jumped in here and been able to prove me wrong. Do you understand that? The logic behind that? Make it make sense, Lollipop. Make it make sense. Because this is the world that we live in. Now, with that being said, the majority of men that women call them broke ass niggas because these men do not spend their money on that woman. They keep their money in their pocket. They build their wealth up. They get them a passport. They fly to the Middle East and they go and find them a woman in another country so that that woman can treat them better than the women in America. Women devalue the women in third world countries. And really, they're not really third world countries, but you're going to call it a third world country and devalue the women in other countries. When those women got 2, 3, 4 degrees, speak 5 different languages, and those women cater to their man from the time they get that man until the time that man died, no matter how old he was when she got him. All of his wants, needs, and desires are met by that woman. She's got a degree just like you got a degree. She speaks more languages than you do. She will translate for her man in her native country to make sure that all his wants, needs, and desires are met. All he got to do is take her stress off her plate. Now, why can't you do the same thing? You're just as educated. You're just as capable. Why does a man have to submit to you, bow down to you, worship the ground that you walk on, give you all of his assets and resources to the best of his ability to satisfy you, but you will not do shit for your man here in America? But a woman in Asia will give her whole life to a man. And she's just as educated, just as capable, and actually more so capable, because while you will pay a mechanic to fix some shit, these women in the Middle East will build it themselves. They'll tell you to go buy the part. They'll build a washer and dryer. They'll rebuild a car. They'll rebuild a motorcycle. They'll build a house. They'll put together the IKEA bedroom set. They'll put together the furniture, cook, clean, braid your hair, take care of your mama, take care of your kids. They'll do all of it for you. But a woman in America, you got to pay to get her hair and nails did. And because her nails done, she can't break a nail doing nothing. She won't put shit together. You got to pay a specialist to come in, an extra $200, $300 for them to build shit. She just watching. You got to pay for a babysitter. She ain't watching the kids. You got to pay for a cook. She ain't cooking shit. You got to pay for a mechanic. She ain't fixing nothing. You better get a warranty for everything, because if something breaks, she ain't going to do nothing about it. If she tell you, you're lucky. What are American women doing that brings them so much value to say that they're entitled to so much shit from the man without ever doing anything for that same man? Make it make sense for me. Help me understand it. And when you're able to help me understand it, then you're able to try to start proving to me that this isn't a bunch of toxic ass behavior with manipulation and control from the females in the relationships, where good men or the good masculine partner is being mistreated more often than not by the feminist partner or the female partner. So when you tell me don't generalize it, you're only telling me don't generalize it because you don't want to fit the stilettos that you're looking at. You don't want to put them on. You fit them, but you don't want to put them on. You're telling me don't generalize it. But think about this. Most women say that they want a man making a certain quantity of money. Enough men have heard enough women say that they want a man that makes more money. All the men are driven to make more money. Most men have heard, or most women actually have heard men say that they want women with less fucked up ass attitudes, that are more cooperative, that are less argumentative, that are less controlling, and more of a partner, more of a life partner that is committed to the man's agenda. And all the women say, fuck that shit, I'm out. Now ask me, where is the toxicity in that? Make it make sense. I don't see uniformity at all, because when you said that you had a problem with the way that the men behaved, all the men strive to change. And then not only do they strive to change, the men teach the next generation. The last generation's men teach next generation's men how much it costs to take care of a woman, because women have set the financial standard. But no woman teaches another woman what it takes to satisfy a man. And you won't even listen to your man when you tell him, because you don't want to be told what to do. He too bossy. He too controlling, because he's telling you what makes him happy. But he's not masculine enough, because he's asking you what makes you happy. If you reciprocate and treat your man the way your man's treating you, or even better, if you treat him the way you want him to treat you. You want expensive shit? Get him expensive shit. You want to go nice places? Take him nice places. You want him to spend 2/3 of his income on you? Spend 2/3 of your income on him. Most of y'all are going to back out of the relationship before that shit go down. You're not satisfied with the engagement? That's how we got on this conversation. You're not satisfied with the engagement? Pay for your own fucking wedding. Don't let your husband, don't let your fiance pay for your wedding. You pay for your own wedding. Just let him show up. Since you wasn't satisfied with the proposal for the engagement, you pay for your own fucking wedding. The bet he couldn't get you the $35,000 ring from Zales. He could only get you the $10,000 ring from K Jewelers or Jared. So that's the best that he could do. You wasn't satisfied with that. You're gonna pay for your own $150,000 wedding. You let your best friend, your home girl, your mama, your auntie pay for your vacation to Hawaii. Because if it's up to him, he should get you a hotel in the Howard Johnson in the smoking section, because that's all you worth. If you're not going to appreciate and value your man, that's all you worth. All right, that's all I have for y'all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, this is going to turn into 1,000 shorts. I can tell you that right now. This is gonna be some shit. As I sign out of TikTok, I want you guys to remember, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to ask you every day to make it make sense. So ladies, make it make sense. And for the rest of you guys on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, I really appreciate you guys coming to the show, showing us that love and support. Make sure that you guys always keep coming back and checking and double checking and seeing what we got going on the platform, because we always got something new coming up. And we always got a whole lot more for you, because I'm actually going to spend the rest of the afternoon working on the rest of the week's content, because like I said before, we're going to be diving into ways to make money, way to save money, way to spend money and more efficiently so that we have more money, making more money for us. We're going to be talking about other tips and tricks and ways of how to get stuff done. So as you guys come in for the rest of the week, because I know Monday ain't up there yet, I'm about to get Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday up there right now. That's one of the reasons why I'm signing out of the show. And we're going to get ourselves more successful individually, and we're going to make ourselves more successful with social interactions, because if we're finding the right partner instead of the toxicity that we've been dealing with this whole show, when we avoid that toxicity and we find the right partner, we'll be able to find more happiness, because men are looking for life partners, especially in our middle ages. We're looking for life partners. We're not looking for liabilities. We're not looking for financial obligations. We're not looking for controlling and dominating and bullified women that are not willing to adhere to our agendas. If they're not going to do for us, then why are we doing for them? So got to find ways to find better choices in our lives, where we have better partners that are going to make better choices for our best interest. So if she's not working for your best interest, bro, you got to replace her. And likewise, ladies, I know you're going to say, well, what about us? Well, ma'am, if you're paying attention to his character, then you should be able to see him focusing on your best interests. So if he's not focusing on your best interests, if he's just focusing on himself, but you are also focusing on him, where he's getting your undivided attention, where everything you do is for his benefit, then I'm going to tell you the same thing. You need to find somebody better. But as long as you are focusing on yourself and you expect him to focus on himself, y'all are not in a relationship. Y'all roommates. Y'all fuck buddies. And then you're not even working for success because you're living for the here and now. This man's trying to build wealth. He's trying to build generational wealth. If you're interested in building generational wealth, then you're going to follow his lead with building generational wealth. Y'all will be able to compromise and negotiate on stock, sponsor, real estate. Y'all will be able to build up an empire. Y'all should be able to start up 2 or 3 businesses. Y'all should be able to find a way to have a transactional business and a holding company where your assets are not tied to your money. That way, if something happens where you got to liquidate a company, instead of you filing for bankruptcy on your own, you terminate the cash assets, and you still keep all your stuff separate. You start really trying to do some shit where y'all got the next generation set up for life. So if y'all have children, your kids don't got to work hard. Your kids don't got to struggle the way y'all struggle. You want to have 2 accomplishments. If you're really a good woman and you're really working for the best interest of your husband, you're really wife material. Your every effort from the time you meet that man until the time you stop breathing is to make sure that 2 things are accomplished. 1, the last 10 to 20 years of his life, he does not have to work hard. And 2, your kids have a whole lifestyle worth of capital there where they don't have to suffer. If you are not working towards those 2 objectives with your man, you are not a good woman. All of you, generalized. Now, you don't got a man that's focusing on shit where you ain't got to work hard for the rest of your life, or you don't got to work hard for the last 10 to 20 years of your life, and he ain't putting up no generational wealth for your children. He ain't worth your time neither. Because you don't want to, y'all talking about something y'all can do it all by yourself. You don't want a man that you got to pay for. So you definitely not going to want a man where you got to take care of him and you got to take care of the kids. So if he's not working on trying to make sure that you're taken care of and the kids is taken care of, and you're not trying to make sure that he's taken care of and the kids is taken care of, then y'all not right for each other. Y'all need to go find somebody else. Y'all need to change y'all priorities and then go find somebody else, because your selection is skewed. Your priorities are confused, which is why you're selecting a person that doesn't meet your standards. You can't say, oh, well, I'm settling for less, because as ladies, y'all already overly expecting it to begin with. You're not settling for less because you're getting a man that can do for you. And if you're not willing to get a man that you need to support, then why are you asking for a man that has to support you? That's not equality. Equality dictates that if you're making $48,000, your man can make $35,000, and y'all will still be happy because y'all still gonna have more than $70,000 a year between the 2 of y'all. And he's still going to give you his whole fucking paycheck. But if he got to make the same amount of money as you or more, you are not looking for a man that's equal to you. You're looking for a man that's better than you. And anything that's better than you, you're supposed to respect. So once you fix your fucked up ass attitude, because you got to change first. As long as you say that you're a 10 out of 10, you're flawed. Because there's flaws in perfection. Because 10 out of 10 means that you met all of the expectations of the scale that you're being judged on, and you're judging yourself. But you are not a 10 out of 10 to your partner. You are a 10 out of 10 to yourself. When you start analyzing what your partner gauges perfection on, and you see how well you meet that scale. If you're 5 out of 10, you got some work to do. So hold on. Before I roll, y'all, she say, what I don't understand is how you can talk so negatively about all women and then on the other hand, say you want men to find a good woman. Well, I can talk negatively about all the bad women that men are getting involved with. And then I can then tell you that all men are going to be able to find somebody that they can tolerate. And really, I'm not just talking about all women across the world. I'm talking about the fucked up ass behavior here in the United States. So really, I'm not even talking about all the women. I'm really talking about the negative behavior that we're experiencing is out of 155 million women in the United States. Because, I mean, you can go to Switzerland, Sicily, Chile, France, Germany, Romania, Asia, Thailand, Japan, South Korea, Brazil, Cuba, Mexico, right across the border, Canada, and you can get treated way better as a man. But here in the United States, the unrealistic, egotistical behavior of the United States woman is pretty fucked up. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of men grab passports and fly to another country. They will spend $2,000 on a plane ticket to go to another population to be treated better. But There are a few diamonds in the rough. Lollipop says, I honestly don't even know why I'm arguing with someone on the internet in the first place. You shouldn't even be. See, that's one of the funniest things. You get touched by what I say. It strikes a nerve with you, what I say. You get offended by what I say. But if you decide to say, well, that doesn't apply to you because you're not that type of woman, you take yourself out of the statistical data, and then you look at some of your homegirls, you look at the neighbor lady, you look at some of these women on social media, you look at the women on the TV, you look at the TV show Cheers, and look at how these women are treating the men, and then you can say to yourself, well, now I see why when I end up coming across a man that's been damaged by other women, I can see why these men are feeling the way they feel and experiencing what they're experiencing, because in order for you as a woman to say a man is traumatized from female interaction with him, you have to recognize that a toxic woman got to him before you did. So in order for you to be able to say that there's something wrong with the man from his previous relationships, you have to then be able to admit that there was some pretty fucked up women that he had came across before he got with you. So even if you are the only 10 out of 10 out of 155 million women, you still got to understand that if there are 25 million negative women in America, you still got the 75 million men going after the 23 million single women. And out of that, a lot of them that are just looking for money and a good time. It's going to be hard for that man to find a good woman, because you have to realize that the good women are married more often than not. The good women stay married until their husband dies. Very rarely are good women, the good women that were mistreated by a bad man are divorced. But the single never been married? How many wife materials exist in single never been married? Because wife material gets married. Not wife material gets divorced. Wife material with the not husband material gets divorced. Wife material gets widowed. But single never been married, 3 kids, not wife material. Single with 300 body counts, no commitment, not wife material. But they're still in the dating pool because they're still single. She says, I don't get offended. I'm interested in your perspective, but you can be quite combative, inflexible, and accusationary. Okay, I am going to be combative because that's what you do in a debate. I am not going to flex on my opinion and my observation, because in flexing in my observation and my opinion and my observation is not absolute. If there is a subjective opinion where it is not just subjective to the individual, if my moral, ethical concepts are subjective to favoritism, where under certain circumstances what I say doesn't always apply, then I'm arbitrarily dictating terms. If my terms are universal, if I said that somebody steps on my Jordans, I'm gonna slap them in the face. It don't matter if you're 6'5", you could be the Big Show. You could punch a hole in my face. If you step on my Jordans, I'm gonna slap you in the face. Because uniformly speaking, this is how things should function. Subjectively, if I'm only going to slap people in the face and step on my Jordans that I know that I can beat up, then I'm really just arbitrarily picking on people that I know don't have the capabilities to defend themselves. So if my opinion is subjective in my own morals and ethics and social constructs, then why do I even have an opinion? But my opinion is linear from every show. It is the same. If you take a man out and put a woman in, my opinion is still going to be the same. You take all the women out and leave men, my opinion is still the same. You take out one race and put in another race, my opinion is still the same. The way it's supposed to happen should always happen that way. And the way it's not supposed to happen is never supposed to happen that way. But when I talk to women like you will tell me that certain situations should be the exception. You should never allow yourself to be mistreated by another person. You should never mistreat another person. You should always treat the other person the way you want that person to treat you, which means you should always meet the expectations of the other person if you expect the other person to always meet your expectations. So when there's a scenario where one person, male or female, has expectations that must be met where they have no interest in meeting the expectations of the other person in that relationship, that is a fucked up person, in my opinion, because you have hypocritical expectations. So then you're going to tell me that, you know, I'm combative and I'm inflexible and I'm accusationary. Look, I'm going to tell you all of my opinions are going to come from the same perspective. So she's going to say, well, my "who hurt you" comment was meant to be a joke, nothing serious. Look, I don't take what you tell me offensively. I have a lot of laughs off of this. I actually like some of the comments that you bring to me, which is why I talk to you on a podcast. I'm going to be honest with you. If I was ever in any way, shape, or form emotionally damaged or in any way, shape, or form critically affected by something that you told me, I would block you or you wouldn't be on the podcast making comments. I specifically put just about everything you say on the screen so that everybody that watches this podcast can see what you have to say, because I am in no way, shape, or form affected by what you say. But if what you're saying, even if it was said as a joke, triggers a valid, rational response to that response, I mean, I can have laughs about who hurt me, but at the same time, nobody hurt me. But a lot of women will tell a man, oh, somebody must have hurt you in your past, that's why you feel the way you feel. But no, you have to understand, if you're going to say that a man, whether he's in his 20s, his 30s, his 40s, his 50s, has developed an understanding that women behave a certain way and he doesn't want to be treated that way, in order for you to say that that comes from past trauma from women, you have to then be able to admit the fact that there are toxic women out there, that those toxic women are still in the dating pool because they broke up with him, so she's still single. So the next man is about to pick up the toxic woman from the last man. 70 to 90% of women leave because they're unsatisfied, which means that those 70 to 90% of women who could not be satisfied by the last man is going to go find another man that they're probably not going to be satisfied by because their expectations are unrealistic, which means that you would have had, you're 30 and you've had 20 boyfriends. Based on your statistical data, men ain't shit. But realistically, first person accountability, the one common factor in that was you in each one of those 20 relationships, and you never fixed yourself before the next relationship, because you got to fix two things. You got to fix your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and then your ability to meet your partner's non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So you have to have the mindset of being a partner before you decide to get into a relationship, which means that you've got to focus on what the other person wants. Remember what you want. Don't let them walk all over you. Don't let them mistreat you, but you have to prioritize them before yourself as much as you want them to prioritize you before yourself. It reminds me of a story about it. I'm gonna get to your next comment. It reminds me of a story about the difference between heaven and hell. Everybody sitting at the dinner table with a giant spoon. The difference between heaven and hell is that in heaven, the person with the giant spoon is feeding the person across the room, whereas in hell, the person with the giant spoon is trying to feed themselves, and they struggling and having a miserable time with it. The difference between a good relationship and a bad relationship is that a good relationship, one partner prioritizes the other person, and that partner prioritizes the first person. You're always taken care of by the other person, so you don't need for nothing. So before you can sacrifice yourself for that person, they sacrificing themselves for you. That's a good relationship. But when you got a selfish person, and then you got a person sacrificing themselves for the other person, all the resources is going in one direction. That's a parasite. A symbiotic relationship, the laws of alchemy. What you put in is what you get out. A symbiotic relationship. What I put in might not be the exact same as what you put in, but what you're putting in, I need, and what you're getting from me, you need. We looking out for each other. But you're going to dictate terms about what the fuck you're not going to do. But I must do everything that you expect or you're out the door. No matter how much I try, if I can't fit your list, you're gone. But no matter what I say, you will not fit my list. I must accept you as you are. The hypocrisy in that, I can't just sit back and say, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. You said I didn't realize we were debating, thought it was just a conversation around ideas. Well, we have conversations around ideas. And then when we have a difference of opinion, it does turn into a debate, because the difference between a debate and an argument is that you're not talking over one another. The difference between a debate and an argument is that you will listen to each other's perspectives. And even if you agree to disagree, that you're not going to hate each other at the end of the situation. The difference between a debate and an argument is that in an argument, you're just trying to win the outcome of the conversation, the person that gets the last word and the person that makes the other person run out of stuff to say. You keep changing the topic until the other person agrees with whatever the hell you're talking about, even though you're no longer talking about the main topic. That's an argument. But if we're talking about conceptually, if we're talking about ideologies, and we're talking about the difference between the expectations of inequalities and the hypocritical expectations inside of those inequalities under the guise that, which means falsehood, of equality, and we say, well, hey, you're saying that we equal, but you're not treating us like we're equal. You're saying that we're supposed to be equal, but you're not behaving equally. If we take your expectations and rotate it around where those become your requirements, you start saying it's not fair. And then if I say that, a woman will come back and say, oh, well, you're misogynistic. Well, no, I'm not misogynistic. I'm a realist. Specifically, I come from logic and reason. If that, then I'm not going to say that one life is weighted more than another life. I'm going to say that some people can get over on the law because they've got more money, resources, power, connections. But I'm not going to say that the law is not expected to be linear. I'm not going to say that a man with $1 billion is not supposed to equally go to jail for the same action as a man with $100. But I do understand that the law is subjective and arbitrarily subjective. But I am not going to be arbitrarily subjective. My opinion is subjective to my society because it's from my first person perspective, my worldview. But my worldview will always be linear. My worldview will be absolute because my worldview is not flexible to the circumstances. Because if the outcome is supposed to be a certain way, that outcome will always be the same way. If the observation of the outcome is supposed to be a certain way, that observation or that expectation is supposed to be the same way every time. So no matter how you change out the variables, if X equals X, it doesn't matter what X is. X will always equal X. But when X sometimes equals Y, but Y never equals X, how the hell does that happen? So yeah, I have no problem with us going back and forth talking about ideologies. I have no problem with having a conversation. But a lot of times, conflict-avoidant people do not want to admit that they're in a debate because they take debates as confrontation. A debate is not confrontation. It is the difference of two opinions without arguing. But a debate requires two different people with two different opinions to present their opinions to the conversation. It doesn't necessarily require there to be a winner or a loser. But in order for two different people to understand their differences of opinion, their different perspectives, their perspectives based on different upbringings and different life experiences, their debate is putting all of their position on the table and somebody else putting all of their position on the table. We might find common ground in some areas, but in areas where we don't have common ground, if you understand why I think the way I think and I understand why you think the way you think, that is the resolution of a debate. So there are no winners or losers in a debate. It is just making sure that you get your point across. You don't understand my concepts because my concepts are linear and non-flexible. So I can say in a generalized sense that a certain type of person is not valuable in a long-term marriage. and then I can change the gender and my statement will still be the same. I can change the race and my statement will still be the same. I can change the social status. My opinion will still be the same. I can change the country it happens in. My opinion will still be the same. That means that if this behavior is unacceptable, it's unacceptable. Now, you can test my theory by providing different scenarios, but the common factor that I have defined is unacceptable. I'm still going to say that's unacceptable. If I was the kind of person that said killing was not wrong if it was used for substance, if you can eat a cow, you can eat a person, you can eat a baby. Because if it's uniformly expected that if you're eating the object that you killed, doesn't matter what it is, because there should be no difference in value of life. If the loss of life is going to turn into food, then uniformly speaking, while it's not moral and ethical in some people's opinion, uniformly speaking, if the loss of life turns into food, it's not wrong. Then uniformly speaking, you start putting in unethical objects like babies and human beings, the expectation should still be the same. Now, will I eat a baby or a human? Not with full knowledge of it. Hell no. But the fact of the matter is that under the expectations that uniformly speaking, this is supposed to be the way it is, I'm not going to hypocritically say, oh, it's okay unless it's this. No. If I say it's not okay, it's never okay. I teach people a lot of the times. I teach the kids. I teach everybody to do what you know is right. Stand up for what you believe in by any means necessary, and accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action. So there is no subjectiveness in your decision-making process. If you know it's wrong and you're going to do it anyway, as long as you understand what the consequences are if you get caught, do you. If you know that this is the right thing to do, no matter how many people tell you it's wrong, don't fold on your position. But if you know that what you're doing is wrong and you know that you'll get in trouble for it, and you don't want to get in trouble for it, don't do it. And that can go from the most egregious action to something as simple as deception in your relationship. You can change those scenarios up no matter how you look at it. But those moral ethics that I just laid out, those morals and ethics that I just laid out are absolute. It is not going to change. It's not going to say, oh, well, stand up for what you believe in unless you can't fight against the authority. I'm not going to say that. No, you might lose, but you're going to fight against the authority, because if what you're doing is right, you're going to keep pushing that. The same way we had this moral and ethical story with Mr. Pibbs on the show one time before. It was wrong to take territory when somebody broke into his house and took over his house. It was wrong to take territory when the Pilgrims came and took the land from the natives. But it was right, according to Mr. Pibbs, for the North to take the territory from the South because the South had slavery. No, if it's wrong to take somebody else's property, it's wrong. It's wrong. You can't justify it because somebody else is doing an unethical action. You can't justify doing a wrong action because somebody else does the wrong action. You come from the same generation I come from, where our elders used to say 2 wrongs don't make a right. So if I'm doing something wrong by slavery, it doesn't make it right for you to steal my property from me just because I'm doing something wrong. That just means that both of us is doing something wrong. So just because 2 negatives make a positive, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I know you've heard that before. And that is an absolute fact. But in our society, we justify unethical behavior by saying, well, what you did was less bad in comparison to what the other person did. just because she cheated on him and fell in love with the person that she cheated on him with, that's worse than him cheating on her and not having any emotions involved. But if cheating is cheating, and you have emotional cheating where you're formulating an emotional bond that is equal to or stronger than a relationship that you have, and you have physical cheating where you're having sex with somebody else, cheating is cheating. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. So you're not supposed to have a work husband, and I'm not supposed to have sex with a hooker. That's uniform. I'm not supposed to have an extra girlfriend on the side. You're not supposed to be having an ex-boyfriend that you used to have sex with on the side that you could potentially have sex with again. Women will say, oh, that's insecure. Well, no, if you need to have security where I got to delete all the women off my phone, get rid of all the women on my social media accounts and not socialize with women in a grocery store, you have to adhere to your own rules. That's uniform. I'm not being unrealistic about it. I'm just trying to make it make sense. What you expect from me as a man, I should be expecting from you as a woman. But you expect resources from me. I don't expect resources from you. That's the only differences that we have. But every other part of our social interaction with one another, when you expect something from me, a behavior trait, a characteristic, action, I should be able to expect those same non-tangible expectations from you, since we're supposed to be equal. Down rarely to the magnitude of protecting each other. If I'm supposed to be able to Glock tight and go to bat with you, go to bat for you to make sure that you're protected, you're supposed to 38-6 and come out there and protect me too. If I run out of ammo, you're supposed to be taking shots over my shoulder and getting the target. Take, for example, I seen this a while back. A man was getting robbed on his motorcycle. His wife pulled up in the car just fresh out the mechanic shop. She ran over the guy that was trying to take the bike. She kept her husband from getting attacked, and she kept the bike from getting stolen. She just used the car. Now, she protected her husband. What is her husband going to do? Fix the car. Any damage that the car got because of that action that his wife did, he's going to pay to fix it. Because he know that she not going to let him get run down by nobody else. And likewise, if she in trouble, he not going to let her get run down by nobody else. But a lot of women feel like, oh, I shouldn't have to be on the front lines because I'm a woman. But no, if you expect a man to be on the front lines for you, you're supposed to be willing to be on the front lines for him. That's equality. So how do you tell me that you feel like my non-flexible, combative, and accusatory position, and you're going to say it's accusatory because you don't want to admit that it does happen? Because accusatory is implying that I'm making false accusations towards a non-factual scenario. I'm talking about situations that actually do happen. I had 10 of those situations on the show today. I had 10 of those situations on the show last week. I had 10 of those situations on the show before that. I had a whole nother person that you was actually talking to. Remember Barbie? She was toxicity. I was talking to you about it. You was telling her that she wasn't acting right. So just because my statements are linear, my situation is linear. She says, I don't see humanity as linear math problems. We are more complex than that. Well, men are linear, women are logarithmic. So you guys go up in levels. There's levels to your shit. With men, it's linear. It is. If this, then that, in that scenario, y equals mx plus b is always going to be that scenario with men. She goes on to say, perspective and morality is subjective to the individual. But absolute morality, absolute ethics requires there to be no exceptions. She goes on to say, not that it's wrong, but we have to recognize our perspective. Well, she has to recognize our perspective informed by the cultural and context we come from by recognizing that, we can be open to understanding other perspectives that are different than ours. See, and she said, Barbie seemed like a troll. Well, you got to understand, while Barbie seems like a troll, the concept that Barbie put up on the show, no matter how inappropriate it was, is the mentality of some people, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman. That's the only reason why I let her comments stay up on the show. I disagreed with what she said, but I didn't derail my show because of her comments. And I could roll the dice and probably say that I know who Barbie really is, that Barbie might be one of them individuals that I would prefer not to associate with, but because I don't know that person's identity directly, I didn't block them. But because the comments that were going up there, they were valid, but I basically pointed out that conceptually, like, she had the wrong opinion. She claimed to want a man from 4 years ago. She only saw him once every 4 months, 3 times a year. And she claimed they was in a relationship for 5 years. You've seen him 15 times in 5 years. And he stopped messing with you. 4 years later, you find him in a 1 year long relationship and you want this man to be miserable. That is the toxic behavior that some women have. They got some men that behave the same way now. They got some men that say, oh, if I can't have you, no one will. Now you got to get a restraining order on them. You got to be put in witness protection. Yeah. I don't just say, oh, well, there's only stuff wrong with women. No. But this is a male-driven podcast with a 85.6% male fan base that is telling men how to be better men and make better choices, first person accountability, and then segue into telling them what not to get when they're getting a woman. Because if you redirect your attention from sex as a prize, all of this other toxic shit that you allow to go on, you will stop allowing to go on. Now, since I have to point out the toxic shit that you should stop allowing to go on, when I talk to some of the fans on the podcast like yourself, you will tell me, oh, well, you know, not everybody's that way. No, but the majority of the people that we need to avoid are definitely that way. And you need to recognize that that's happening. And then you need to be able to know how to get away from that shit. You don't go to bars that have bar fights in them. If you were in Florida, there's a nightclub called Whiskey North. There's a shooting in that nightclub every 60 to 90 days. If you know that nightclub has a shooting every 2 to 3 months, you are not going to that nightclub because you don't want to get shot. That is logic. And statistically, the likelihood of you being caught in the crossfire of a shooting is going to be based upon the density of the population, and your probability of getting shot increases by how close you are to the shooter's target. Ybor City, Tampa, Florida. There's a shooting almost every other weekend as of recent. But statistically, the shooting typically happens between 2:15 and 3:45. If you leave Ybor City before 1 a.m., you're less likely to get shot. That's statistical probability, which means that logically speaking, you could still go out to that area and have you a good time between 8 p.m. and 12:30, 12:45. But whatever you're doing in the club, you're going to be wrapping it up by 1:15 and you're trying to get to your car and get off the block. Because in an hour, they're going to start shooting. Analyzing social interaction is going to be the same way. So just like you said, when you said that the information is going to be based on cultural context, if we're in the same culture, the context is linear. We're going to be talking about, what else do you say? Recognizing the differences of perspectives. We can recognize that your perspective is not going to be the same as my perspective, because I'm a man that lives in a world where lives in a society where the men are not valued or respected. You are a woman living in a society where, because a lot of men prioritize sex as the prize, women are idolized and worshipped, even if they're not worthy of that. So an attractive woman that gets spoiled by her society, that does not experience the negativeness of the toxic person, is not going to have the same opinion as a man that is expected to lavishly give this woman that isn't worthy of that particular position the life of Riley treatment, charging it to the Underhills, keeping it up with the Joneses. But a woman of value will value her boyfriend, who will value her husband. A woman of value will be wife material from the first date. We actually had one man on the show today from the UK who talked about he found the right one by the second date. They were able to tell each other they love each other from the second date. They were with one another for about 2 months, dated for 6 months. They've been together for a total of 8 months. And the only problem they got in a relationship right now is that she don't like how much he played a video game. That's it. As long as her pet peeve of him playing that video game does not become dominant, they will have a great relationship. But if 8 more months from now, she pissed off because he's still on the game, that great relationship will become toxic. My advice to her, if the only problem you got, my mama always said, if you find somebody that meets 80% of your expectations and you can deal with the other 20, that's a keeper, because nobody's perfect. Now, with that being said, if the only problem she got with her boyfriend is that he played too much video games, you want to spend time with your boyfriend, do what he likes to do some of the time, and then you get him to do the things that you like to do some of the time. So if he like to play Madden and Call of Duty and Need for Speed and stuff on a video game, you learn how to play that shit. You play video games with your man for half the time. And then the other half the time, you take him to go do some of the stuff that you like to do. Then she'll be just like that one girl I was telling y'all about 2 hours ago, that her boyfriend had went to jail for some shit. She's playing his character on the game, keeping up his stats, keeping his rank up, so that when he get out, he don't lose his place. That's a keeper. Because when you pay attention to my interests, my interests are valuable to me. And if I'm valuable to you, then my interests should be valuable to you. So if I play video games, especially like Pretty Boy Floyd, who played video games for a living, where he was bringing in $400,000, $500,000 a year from playing video games, his girlfriend took his job and broke it. Why? Why would you take a $500,000 business and destroy it because you want more attention from your man? Why not partner with your man and turn that $500,000 business into $1 million business? Because if you got one account making $500,000, do you know how much money you would get off of 2 accounts? And then do you know how much more money you get if you have a team and you turn that into a tournament? You get $1 million a tournament. 2-player teams. But instead of supporting something that somebody that you claim you care about values, and getting in there and making him as successful as possible with the way the women used to do back in the 40s and 50s, investing in their man and making their man the most successful he could possibly be, you destroy him because he's not giving you attention. The same way that mother had got on a podcast a couple months back and was talking about how her child had a 12 million follower podcast, and she wanted to deactivate his podcast to show him that he can't make money off of this podcast, when you got grown ass men podcasting with 4.4 million followers getting $11,000 in 11 minutes off of the followership. The only reason why this young boy can't get paid off of the podcast is because he's under the age of 18. But if his mama was assigned on to the podcast as the adult over his podcast, he could get paid like Layla, who was getting paid since 6 years old. That little girl that be dancing all over YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and shit. She getting paid off of YouTube because her mama is over her account until she's an adult. That little girl was on Wildin' Out with Nick Cannon and stuff, making more money than Nick Cannon's whole cast by her goddamn self. 8, 9, 10 years old. She ain't even old enough to drive yet. She's a millionaire because her mama supported her. You got some people who will support you because they care about you and they care about what you care about. They got some people who are selfish and they only care about themselves. And they want you to value them more than they value themselves. But they will not value you as much as you value them. And they will not value you as much as you want them to value you. And if you complain too much, they will shame you for that. Now, with that being said, how do we talk about these types of concepts when you say that these facts are accusatory? Because these are facts. This is not hypotheticals. I'm not drawing up, so I'm not giving you a hypothetical from another country, but I can give you a hypothetical from another country that actually applies in the United States. Take this, for example. In Hong Kong, other side of the world, the women expect the men to provide first aid when the women collapse. The men want the women to sit there and suffer until the EMTs arrive. Women think that the men have a fucked up mentality because if they're in trouble, they want to be rescued by the man. The man doesn't want to get involved because if the man gets involved, he could be sued for sexual harassment and have to pay this woman a bunch of money because he saved her life. She would have died without him touching her, but because he touched her, now he's in a lawsuit. Conceptually speaking, in the United States, men used to open doors for women so that women wouldn't have to do it. Men used to carry heavy shit for women so that women wouldn't have to do it. Now, when a man opens a door for a woman, she tells him, oh, you're just trying to look at my ass. Well, bitch, open a door by yourself and carry that fucking heavy ass TV by your goddamn self instead of you having me carry the TV and carry the groceries and carry your kids and all this other shit to the car. Carry it your goddamn self, because I call myself doing it to be nice. And then you tell me that I'm some kind of way wrong for offering my services to you without you having to ask for it. Likewise, we have good men. Women don't respect men on a regular basis, but we got good men on the block that if a woman needs help, the man is supposed to intervene with a stranger. If a man is in trouble, a woman is never going to clack and get over there and go and jump in on a stranger. But if your purse gets stolen from you in the middle of the street, the nearest man to you, you are hoping to God that man going to take off running and go and get that purse. Oh, thank you for getting my purse. But how many women on a regular basis just tell a strange man that I really appreciate you for being here? Because if your ass was in trouble, that man might be the one that would save you. We very rarely show appreciation for the military veterans that gave their arms, limbs, and sanity for our freedom to be disrespectful to one another. But the men that are not a nail another. Ladies, how many of y'all actually see a man at the grocery store? He in a line, he got like 6 things. You got 100. Do you let him go before you? Because most women don't do that. No. You got to wait in line. Y'all won't do not a nail thing to show a man that you are not dating, that he is important for being a man. But there are so many women in this society that wants a woman. I appreciate you. She said, well, I got to go to bed. We'll continue this on another time. Yes, ma'am. I'll see you whenever you come back. We're here 7 nights a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. We'll be here tomorrow night, but I think tomorrow night we're going to be talking about money. So our next relationship topic is going to be on Thursday. But I'll see you when you come back. But like I was saying, not a now female will prioritize a man that she's not dating. Very few women that are dating a man will prioritize a man that they're dating unless they're married to the man. Oh, you got to put a ring on my finger before I do that. No, you're supposed to be doing that so that I could want to put a ring on your finger. You're not supposed to hold the marriage requirement as if, oh, if you promote me first, then I'll do the work. No, you're supposed to do the work before you get promoted. Nobody goes to a job and says, oh, you got to pay me before you can see how well I work. No, you got to go to work. You got to show them that you know how to do the job. They'll pay you. They'll give you more money because of how well you do the job. You start doing the job of the manager long before they promote you to the manager. You start doing the job of the partner before you get promoted to partner. You have to show them that you're qualified and capable of taking the next position before you get the next position. But women expect in relationships with men, while you will do whatever you're told to do if a man is paying you on a job, you won't do nothing that your man is telling you at the house when he's spending his money on you. That's the same thing. That's a job in your relationship. Your job to your husband is just like your job to your boss at McDonald's, just like your job to your boss at the hospital, just like your job to the boss at Heartline if you're driving a bus, just like your job to the boss as a teacher in a school. You do what you told for minimum wage, but you won't do what you told for the man that will take you out of a minimum wage environment and have you live for free where he's paying for all of your expectations. And all he's telling you to do is what he's missing and what will make him happy. He's not making you do nothing extra. He's not making you do nothing extreme, because in addition to him only giving you limited obligations and limited expectations, he's also voluntarily taking all of your responsibilities off of your plate, as much of them as he can afford. He's not just dumping a bunch of responsibility on you. Think about it. When you're a hard worker on a good job, the boss calls you before he calls the lazy worker, but y'all making the same amount of money. You and a lazy worker making the same amount of money. They call you because they know that you'll get the job done. They'll call you in when the unreliable people don't come to work, but they won't schedule you on that day. They will cut your hours so that you don't go into overtime because you always in overtime. But they'll call you in on your day off because they need you. Your husband gives you more responsibility to look after him, and he takes in exchange your responsibilities. So your financial responsibilities is now his responsibility. Your safety is now his responsibility. And in return, you take good care of him. So he's not just giving you a bunch of extra responsibility. He's trading you taking care of him for him taking care of you. But you want a lifestyle, and you want this man to meet that lifestyle, but you are beneath him financially and cannot provide that lifestyle for yourself. And you say that because he doesn't meet that monetary expectation of a lifestyle, that he is beneath you. He's not beneath you. He's beneath your expectations. You are beneath your expectations, and you are beneath him. But if you wanted him and he was on your level, he could do for you what you could do for yourself. So if your expectations was that you had a man that prioritized what you could do for yourself so that you don't have to do it, you would have a larger percentage of men that you would be able to get, because you notice that all of these women that's looking for a man that's making over $100,000 a year, that's going to be monogamous, that's going to be over 6 feet, that all this other shit, 1% of the population. 1%. But if you say, well, I want a man that can do for me what I can do for myself, you're looking at 73% of the population. Because 23% of the population makes over $100,000 a year. 7% of the population makes over $200,000 a year. 30% of the population makes over $70,000 a year. So if you want a man that makes more than minimum wage, 73% of the population is below poverty level. And where is poverty level with inflation these days? Well, in 1956, the working class was the poverty line. Okay? Blue collar workers, the working class, was the poverty line. If you were part of working class income, you were poor. Okay? Now, February 14th, 2024, working class, $72,000 a year. $1,650 a week is poor as of February 14, 2024. So think about how much money you make. And if you're watching this podcast right now, you understand that poor, according to the U.S. Census in February 14, 2024, right when you was filing your taxes, that $1,650 a week is poor. That's the working class. You're averaging about $25 an hour. That's the working class. You're not making that. You are poor. You don't notice it because you match your income with your roommate. You might have 3 roommates. The 3 of y'all together might make $125,000, where each one of y'all is making $40,000. but you individually are poor. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. That's the statistical average. You are poor. Why do you think the U.S. government did flat rate taxes? They said 15% across the board unless you make $168,000. 99% of the population does not make $168,000. So everybody is going to get a flat rate 15%. But if you're an individual, you're not going to get city and state tax deductions. So everybody's going to mandatorily pay 15% unless you're a business. So with that being said, if you're poor at $40,000 a year because you're less than $1,650 a week, and your boyfriend is poor at $42,000 a year, where y'all are together making $82,000 a year, the average standard of living comfortably is $68,000 a year. Y'all would be making almost $20,000 a year more, technically $16,000 a year more than comfortable standard of living. If you invested that $16,000 a year into stocks and bonds, especially if you invested it into Bitcoin, it gave you an 80% return, where you would be likely drawing back about $14,000 a year of interest on top of your $16,000 principal, where you would be almost doubling your money every year. 16 to be 32, 32 would be 64. In 5 years, you'd be upward of $300,000. In 10 years, you'd be upward of $1 million. Investing your money into something like Bitcoin. Y'all had a 10-year plan. If y'all got together at 30 and y'all live beneath y'all means, you and your boyfriend, you and your husband could spend 10 years together, taking that extra $16,000 a year that you don't need, that you're not wasting on bullshit now, and y'all actually invest in stocks, bonds, and mutualities, and you would be able to use that money to build y'all the kind of wealth that if y'all met in y'all 30s, that by the time y'all was in y'all 40s, mid to late 40s, y'all wouldn't have to work no more. And if you didn't waste the money, y'all could live off the interest. Y'all could live off the interest for the rest of y'all life, traveling the world and everything. Y'all would be waking up and those would be the kind of relationships where y'all debate would be what y'all are going to put y'all money into next to make more money, make money for you. That's how it is. But until you find that kind of partner, we got to weed out the bad apples. And here on This, That, and Everything in Between, we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And when I weed out the bad apples, I'm linear about it. I'm ruthless about it. I am non-flexible about it. Because if the shit is wrong, the shit is wrong. So as I ask you ladies to make it make sense, I'm going to let y'all know that I'm Xander for This and That and Everything in Between. And I really appreciate y'all coming to the show. Y'all have a good night, and I'm going to see y'all tomorrow.